Chapter 3271. These people were truly stunned. They didn't expect that this was actually a battle between the 9 sons and the great demon lineage. Really? They didn't even dare to believe it. This was a legendary battle. Among them, a small portion of people's expressions suddenly changed. Damn it, it's really them. I've heard of it before. Someone used an array formation. It recorded the battle between these 2 people. I've seen a little bit of it before. It was exactly the same as now. One was covered in monstrous demonic aura, while the other was covered in flames. The 2 of them were the successors of the 9 sons and the great demon lineage. The one who spoke was a highly respected old man. His strength had reached the half-sage level, and he was very powerful. Furthermore, he was very knowledgeable. Hence, everyone was convinced by his words. Now, all of them knew that the battle ahead was between the great demon and the 9 sons' lineage. At this moment, that old half-saint, who was of virtue and prestige, he spoke again. It was rumored that they were fighting in the elven forest of the elven planet, and it was half a year ago. Unexpectedly, they actually fought here. What? Elven planet? The surrounding powerhouses gasped when they heard this. That place was very far from here. It would take more than half a year to fly there. Did these 2 people fight from that place all the way here? They didn't dare to imagine how earth-shattering this battle was. And from the looks of it, these 2 people didn't even have a spirit boat. Could it be that they relied on their physical bodies to fly? Heavens, this was an incomparably cold universe. Only saints would dare to do this. They were extremely shocked. Some young geniuses didn't think much of it. In their opinion, the legends were definitely exaggerated. In terms of true strength, these 2 people were only SOSO. But soon, when they saw the battle ahead, they were all stunned. Those arrogant young geniuses from before trembled and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Because of the battle between these 2, it was simply too terrifying. No one among the half-sages could compare to them. In fact, they guessed that even saints were only SOSO. Retreat. Retreat quickly. These people retreated crazily. At the same time, people from the Lang Yastar also came out. These Tao children originally wanted to shout coldly, "Who is fighting here?" One had to know that no one was allowed to fight in the star field around the Lang Yastar. This was the rule. However, at this moment, there were actually people fighting. This made them extremely furious. However, when the 2 Daoist children came out, they were stunned. The scene in front of them also shocked them. Not good. At this moment, in the world below, several elders rushed over. He hurriedly brought the 2 kids away. At the same time, the news spread to the people below. Soon, the Lang Star shone brightly, and countless arrays appeared around it. These were all earth-shattering formations. They shone brightly and covered the entire Lang Star, as well as some of the surrounding space. Whoosh! Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They were also enveloped by the array formation. The defensive formation of the Lang Star was a world-level formation. It was extremely terrifying and was set up by a sage. At the same time, they were incomparably shocked. One should know that even the top geniuses and terrifying half-saints would be punished if they fought on the Lang Star. At the very least, they would be chased out. At the very least, they would be crippled and thrown out. But now, the great demon and the successor of the 9 Yang lineage had received tacit approval. Even the Lang Star had activated the array formation. It seemed that they did not want to interfere in this matter at all. Thinking of this, they gasped. The great demon and the 9 Yang lineage were indeed worthy of their reputation to be treated like this by the Lang Star. Seeing that the Lang Star had activated the defensive formation, Lin Xian no longer had any worries. On the other hand, the great demon did not have any worries at all. He did not care about the Lang Star. If they dared to block him, he would kill them all. The great spear of destruction in his hand swept out. The light of destruction shattered the void in front of him. Lin Xian waved the sword shadow in his hand and slashed out, shattering the world. The terrifying sword Qi formed a world and flew forward. The collision of the two turned into a ray of light in the cold universe, illuminating millions of miles of the dark void. Inside the Langistar's array formation, the elites saw the scene and felt their scalps go numb. This was the attack of two half-saints? What a joke! This kind of energy was enough to kill all of them. If not for the array formation's defense, they would have been dead by now. Could it be that two sages were fighting? They trembled in fear. The dark light from the great spear of destruction was destroyed by the great dragon's sword soul. Not only that, the endless demonic qi in front of them was also split open, creating a large crack. The great demon spat out a mouthful of blood, as if he had been struck by lightning. His expression became incomparably ugly. He once again activated the blood sacrifice array formation beside him, forming a set of battle armor that completely enveloped him. In the next moment, he roared, "Supreme demonic body!" Black light appeared all over his body. He absorbed the surrounding energy and the aura of the sun and moon. His body was infinitely huge. He turned into a terrifying giant demon. His strength also skyrocketed. With a loud boom, this power was even stronger than before. Do you think you're the only one who has a physique? I have one too, Lin Xian shouted coldly, and the light on his body suddenly erupted. The 9 Yang divine fire burned. Lin Xian's body also continued to grow. He turned into an indomitable golden giant. At this moment, he was like a god of fire walking in the mortal world. This scene was too terrifying. It was simply like a legend. When the powerhouses in the array formation saw this scene, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This was because in the originally cold void of the universe, only the stars were dazzling and huge. The others were as insignificant as dust. Only the powerful light on their bodies could illuminate everything. As for their bodies, they were very small. But now, the bodies of the successor of the 9 Yang divine fire and the successor of the great demon had become very terrifying. It was as if two giant gods were fighting. This was not just an ordinary body enlargement, which was meaningless after the two of them transformed. Their strength also increased terrifyingly. An ordinary semi-sage wouldn't be able to do this. One must have an extremely powerful physique to be able to do this. The supreme devil body, the 9 Yang divine body. These were the strongest and most powerful physiques in the myriad of worlds. Perhaps only such physiques could cause such a phenomenon of heaven and earth, to be able to see such a top-notch battle. Even if I die, I will have no regrets. Many veteran half-sages exclaimed in surprise. Their eyes lit up and they were extremely excited. The young geniuses were extremely shocked. They thought that they were powerful geniuses and did not put anything in their eyes. At this moment, in front of these two supreme existences, they were incomparably small. Any one of their physiques was an existence that they could only look up to. There were also people who frowned. Normally, these two people would be popular candidates to compete for the throne on the ancient path of the stars. But now, in this fated battle, one of them would probably fall. When these words came out, everyone trembled. Their eyes widened. What? One of them was going to fall here? There was no choice. Both of them had supreme physiques. It would be a pity if one of them fell, but there was nothing they could do. The two of them were mortal enemies. The battle between the great demon and the 9 Yang divine fire had been passed down since ancient times. For tens of thousands of years, no one could escape this fate. Chapter 3272, Chaotic Demon Fist. After transforming, the great demon's power was even more terrifying than before. As soon as the chaotic demon fist was unleashed, countless demonic shadows flashed between heaven and earth. the terrifying fist exploded in all directions. However, Lin Xian had also transformed. He also had the appearance of a flame giant, so the 9-yang divine palm he unleashed was also incomparably terrifying. The battle between the two shook the heavens and the earth. The great destruction spear swept through the surroundings once again. The great dragon sword soul also roared, transforming into a dragon shadow that shook the 9 heavens. The two's law fragments danced in the air, clashing in all directions. The half-saints inside the array formation felt their scalps tingle. Boom! The great dragon sword soul became more and more courageous as it fought. The surrounding law of fire danced, and at this moment, it was like a huge dragon that constantly attacked. It caused the great destruction spear to tremble repeatedly. In the end, one of its arms was severed, and the great destruction spear was sent flying once again. Damn it! The great demon roared. However, at this moment, the great dragon's sword soul swept out and cut him in half. Ah! A miserable sound rang out, causing one's scalp to tingle. Although the great demon was cut in half, he did not die. His upper body erupted with a biting cold light. He opened his mouth and spat out a black demonic wave that directly pierced through Lin Xian. A bloody hole also appeared on Lin Xian's body. The battle between the two of them was extremely fierce. Both of their bodies were shattered, and both of them exploded, turning into a bloody mist. A terrifying sea of blood surged between heaven and earth. However, in the end, the two of them recovered once again. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. The 3 of them fought for 9 days and 9 nights. Inside the array formation, the spectators were stunned. Was this the power of the great demon and the successor of the 9-yang bloodline? It was too terrifying. A casual move from the 2 of them could kill any one of them. Why do I feel that if they continue fighting like this, even if they fight until the end of time, the 2 of them won't be able to determine the victor? Some of the geniuses sucked in a cold breath. However, there were also a few top half-saints who frowned. No, the victor would be decided soon. They could feel that the successor of the 9-yang bloodline's aura was getting stronger and stronger. It could even be said that the great demon was being suppressed from the beginning to the end. However, the great demon was too powerful, and his physique was terrifying. He could not die for a while. Furthermore, a manual great destruction spear was extremely terrifying. It could penetrate Lin Xian's body. If not for the great destruction spear, the great demon would have been killed long ago. Boom, boom. Suddenly, countless dragon shadows erupted from Lin Xian's feet, densely packed together, causing his speed to reach the extreme. At the same time, Lin Xian activated his heavenly secret divine eyes to analyze the opponent's flaws. In the blink of an eye, Lin Xian dodged 33 attacks. In the next moment, he disappeared from the world. When he reappeared, he was behind the great demon. His speed was so fast that most half-saints couldn't even catch him. Boom! Lin Xian's entire body shone with a golden light. Flames burned fiercely, and the great dragon sword soul in his hand roared. All of a sudden, the great demon's hair stood on end. He flipped his hand and attacked. The great spear of destruction also pierced out. It was like a black demon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The great destruction spear was sent flying once more. The great demon was pierced through and split into pieces. Ah, the great demon screamed. He was broken into 8 pieces. He wanted to heal, but at this moment, Lin Xian attacked again. This sword slashed out, and the great demon wanted to heal. Suddenly, he stopped in midair, hugged his head, and screamed, "Damn it! How dare you injure my soul?" He was crazy. His opponent's sword actually injured his soul. This battle could end now. Lin Xian shouted coldly. He absorbed the spiritual energy of the world, and the great dragon sword soul in his hand became more and more piercing. Nine Yang sword technique. The terrifying sword technique slashed the great demon's body into a bloody mist. At the same time, he attacked his opponent's soul. Not good. The great demon was probably going to be defeated. He didn't expect that the successor of the Nine Yang sword soul would be able to injure the great demon's soul in the end. With his soul injured, the great demon's power would be greatly reduced. At that time, he wouldn't be a match for Lin Xian at all. Cries of surprise rang out one after another. They were simply too shocked by Lin Xian's methods. In the distance, a spirit ship floated in the void. When the Crimson Dragon saw this scene, he immediately became excited. Great, if this continued, he would definitely be able to kill Lin Xian. He was too excited. For the past half a year, he had been following behind silently. He had seen the battle between the two. Although Lin Xian had the upper hand, it was too difficult for him to kill the great demon. But now, Lin Xian had finally seized the opportunity to defeat his opponent's soul. Next, it was time to slay the great demon. Lin Xian stood in the void of the universe. Sword Qi surrounded his body, making him look like a peerless war god. He looked at the screaming great demon with a cold expression. The fated battle could end. Since ancient times, the great demon and the Nine Yang lineage had been fighting each other. Among them, the Nine Yang lineage had more victories than losses. The previous Nine Yang sword saint was directly killed. However, the previous great demon was too heavily injured and died at Black Demon Cliff. As the successor of the Nine Yang lineage, Lin Xian had also encountered a peerless enemy. However, he had not been defeated. Not only that, but he also had the strength to kill his opponent. He wanted to let the entire universe know that this time, the Nine Yang lineage would not lose. Everything was over. Lin Xian's figure was tall. With an aura that could swallow mountains and rivers, he strode forward. Every step he took shattered the void. Opposite him, the great demon's screams softened. Clearly, he had stopped the injury to his soul. However, it was impossible for him to return to his peak. At that moment, his body was barely healing, and his entire body was trembling. Defeated, I've actually been defeated. The great demon's eyes lost their luster. He had charged forward forcefully and killed his way over. Half-saints could not even block a single move from him. In his opinion, the successor of the Nine Yang lineage was only SOSO. He could easily kill him. However, the other party was too powerful. Before using the Great Destruction Spear, he could not do anything to the other party. In fact, he was even injured by the other party. Later on, he was angry and used the Great Destruction Spear, wanting to kill the other party. However, he did not expect the other party to have the Great Dragon Sword. In the end, his soul was injured, and he ended up in his current state. Damn it, I can't accept this. Since ancient times, the great demon lineage had been incomparably powerful and suppressed the Nine Yang lineage. However, he was suppressed by the other party. He had utterly disgraced the great demon clan. So what if he was unwilling? Lin Xian walked over with a cold expression. He quickly raised the great dragon sword in his hand. Now, I'll send you to hell. A cold voice sounded, causing everyone's scalps to go numb. Was the great demon going to die? Ha ha ha, kid, are you trying to kill me? Too naive. The great demon suddenly laughed, his voice shaking the 9 heavens. I admit that I've lost this fated battle, but you don't have the right to kill me. Chapter 3273. I've lost to you today, and I no longer have the face to continue living in this world. However, you can forget about living either. I can go to hell, but you can go to hell with me. The great demon revealed a sinister smile. At this moment, he was really like a demon. His voice made people tremble. In the distance, those people exclaimed, "Heavens, are they trying to perish together?" The great demon had failed, but it would not be easy to kill him. An elder said, 3,000 years ago, I heard a dying living fossil say that the previous 9 suns and the great demon seem to have perished together. What? There's actually such a thing. The surrounding people were stunned. They did not expect that the previous 9 suns would have perished together. Could it be that this generation is going to perish together as well? Some people sighed. It was normal. After all, both of them were peerless powerhouses. When such people fought, there was an 80 to 90% chance that they would perish together. In the distance, in the spirit boat, the Crimson Dragon saw this scene and immediately became anxious. Damn it. What is this guy trying to do? Kid, hurry up and kill him. When Lin Xian heard this, he also frowned. You want to perish together with me? You don't have the right to do so. He attacked crazily, and the great demon opposite him revealed a sinister smile. A pair of black wings appeared on his back. He fluttered gently and instantly disappeared into the void. When he reappeared, he was in another place. He had successfully dodged the sword. He stretched out his palm. On his 5 fingers, there were 5 pitch-black demonic runes. Each of them was incomparably mysterious. The demonic runes spun crazily in his hand. I'll sacrifice my blood to the demon god. The great demon began the blood sacrifice again. However, this time he did not kill the surrounding powerhouses. He used his own blood to perform the blood sacrifice. The palm that was burning with the 5 demonic runes pierced through his body and grabbed his heart. The heart was covered with countless black runes that burned rapidly. A terrifying and shocking power erupted from the great demon's body. This scene was too strange. The great demon was actually using his own life to increase his power. It seemed that the other party did not want to live anymore. The aura on his body exploded rapidly. Endless demonic chi surged, causing his strength to rise continuously. It had already far surpassed what it used to be. Above his head, his heart continued to burn, providing him with constant power. The great demon's power kept on rising, and it seemed like he was about to break through to the Saint Realm. What kind of technique was this? Wasn't it too terrifying? This increase in strength was too terrifying. It seemed like the 9 Suns' descendant was in danger. The half-saints in the distance exclaimed. Lin Xian also frowned. He knew that he couldn't wait any longer and had to act quickly. His strength was raised to the extreme, and the great dragon sword soul in his hand was constantly brandished. He had to stop the blood sacrifice. With a slash of his sword, the gigantic dragon soared through the air and flew forward, wanting to shatter the other party's heart. The demon laughed and slapped out. The black demonic palm covered the sky, and it was like a black sky was pressing down. Boom! Their attacks collided, causing the heavens to collapse and the earth to split. Fortunately, the people around them were inside the peerless formation. Moreover, it was set up by a saint, which was why the Langus star was in perfect condition. Otherwise, the entire world would be affected. Brat, it's useless. You can go to hell with me. The great demon attacked crazily, and all kinds of terrifying powers were displayed. Chaotic demon fist, world-destroying demon disc, great destruction spear, and demon swallows the world. All kinds of divine abilities emerged one after another, and the area in front of him was drowned by endless demonic chi. Lin Xian was sent flying in an instant, and his body was torn into pieces. However, he quickly used the great dragon sword chi to wipe out all the demonic chi. At the same time, his eyes burst out with a biting cold light. The fated battle has ended. My 9 Suns' descendant has won this palm. Now that you want to use your blood sacrifice to kill me, I won't hold back either. In addition to the law of fire fragment, several other law fragments appeared around Lin Xian. They surrounded him and danced crazily. His strength was also rapidly increasing. What? When the people inside the formation saw this scene, their eyeballs almost popped out. Heavens, this 9 Suns' descendant actually didn't use his full strength. There were many more law fragments than before. He had actually grasped several law fragments: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, 5 elemental laws. Was he going to walk the path of the 5 elemental laws? The half-saints of the older generation were also stunned. They didn't expect that after the great demon, the 9 sons' descendant would also use all his trump cards. The great demon also frowned. Other law fragments? It's useless. Although you can increase your strength, it won't increase by much. The current you is no match for me. The great demon snorted coldly and used all kinds of divine abilities. The 2 of them fought an earth-shattering battle. This battle was even more tragic than the previous one. However, even though Lin Xian unleashed several types of nomological law fragments, he was still suppressed. There was no other way. The great demon opposite him was burning his life force to fight. The power that erupted was too strong. Sure enough, in the next moment, the great destruction spear appeared and disappeared unpredictably. Its powerful force pierced through his body and nailed him in the void. The great spear of destruction pierced through Lin Xian's body, causing it to explode into pieces. It was too tragic. Lin Xian shouted coldly. The law of wood instantly enveloped him. His shattered body quickly recovered. Heaven and earth rumbled as a terrifying power surged towards him. After Lin Xian used all his strength, his recovery ability was astonishing. In an instant, he was as good as new. I said, "It's over. No matter what trump card you use, this battle is over." Lin Xian's expression was cold. The 6 great law fragments revolved around the great dragon sword soul. At this moment, he didn't hold back at all. He poured all his strength into the great dragon sword soul. The great dragon sword soul let out a long cry, and the 9 heavens and 10 lands shook. The surrounding array formations started to tremble. The people inside were terrified. What kind of sword was this? How could it be so terrifying? Lin Xian ignored everything and activated the great dragon sword soul. Its power increased again. With one sword, the various divine abilities that the great demon used were all shattered. The great destruction spear was sent flying again. The great demon was also cut in half by the sword. This time, the great demon's soul was seriously injured. If it weren't for the great demon burning his life force, this sword would have been able to completely kill him. The great demon recovered with difficulty. His expression was extremely ugly. "Good boy, I still underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be able to seriously injure me now. But unfortunately, you still couldn't stop me." Now, everything was over. Great Demon laughed. The others felt their hair stand on end. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He discovered that the Great Demon's heart had completely disappeared, and above the Great Demon's head, an illusory figure appeared. Chapter 3274. Only a small part of the figure appeared. It was a head and 2 hands, but it was still struggling to get out. As soon as the figure appeared, the surrounding starry sky and universe began to tremble. The people in the array formation were also out of control. Many young elites knelt on the ground. Among them, there were many half-sages. However, at this moment, they were kneeling on the ground, unable to move. Even those veteran half-saints were doing their best to resist, and many of them exploded with a loud bang. What was that? They knelt on the ground and screamed crazily. It was too terrifying. The aura of a sage. That was at least the phantom of a sage. Damn it! What did this demon summon? The phantom of the demon ancestor. Damn it! He couldn't have summoned a first-generation great demon. Could he? What? The first great demon? Hearing that, everyone's heads were about to explode. What level was that? Even among the sages, it was a super powerful existence. It might even be the demon emperor. How was that possible? How could the great demon have such a method? Damn it, we were fooled by him. An old man who was like a living fossil screamed, crazily. His blood sacrifice just now was not a summoning, but a cultivation increase. He used his life as the price to temporarily increase his strength to the sage realm. Now he was summoning. Indeed, they saw the great demon's face turn pale. He was trembling, and the blood in his body was quickly flowing out. Many wrinkles appeared on his face. It was as if he had aged hundreds or thousands of years in an instant. However, his hands continued to form seals, and one terrifying seal after another was reflected in the void. He was summoning now. Crack, crack, crack. As the great demon summoned his life, more and more cracks appeared in the void above. More than half of the blurry figure's body had already squeezed out. Many cracks appeared on the surrounding sage array. This scene caused all of the people inside the formation to be terrified. Oh heavens! Even the sage array can't withstand it? Oh no, kid, run. It's too dangerous. In the distance, the Crimson Dragon saw this scene and quickly retreated. At the same time, he quickly transmitted his voice. He had no choice. It was too dangerous. Even though he possessed the bloodline of the divine dragon, he could not help but shiver in the face of this illusory figure. This meant that the other party's bloodline power was no weaker than his. Coupled with the other party's aura, this was definitely a super saint-level phantom. Damn it, even if he wasn't the first-generation great demon, he wasn't far from it. Lin Xian roared and used all of his strength to push the great dragon sword spirit to unleash a world-shaking attack. That sharp sword Qi was tens of thousands of miles long. It slashed down from the sky and slashed forward. He wanted to send that figure flying. However, the moment his sword Qi reached the vicinity of the demonic shadow, it began to crumble. It didn't even touch the demonic shadow before it disappeared without a trace. Brat, it's useless. What I've summoned is a first-generation great demon. You go to hell. I'm in hell, waiting for you. At this point, he had completely aged. His hair had turned white, and his body was hunched over. In an instant, he aged several thousand years. In the end, the great demon's body shattered into pieces and fell into the void, dead. It was incomparably terrifying. The successor of the great demon had exhausted his life force and turned into dust. Meanwhile, the phantom of the first-generation great demon that he had summoned after sacrificing his life to break through to the saint realm had completely broken free from the spatial rift and stood in the void. Although it was only a phantom, it suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 lands as soon as it appeared. At this moment, everyone uncontrollably knelt down. Boom, boom, boom. The surrounding saint's array shattered with a loud bang. Many terrifying cracks appeared on it, and it seemed like it would collapse at any moment. The half-step saint's prodigies in the array formation also screamed crazily. Some of the weaker half-step saints' bodies had already shattered and turned into a bloody mist. The others were also kneeling on the ground, unable to stand up at all. It was too terrifying. The phantom of the first-generation great demon was terrifying to the extreme. Lin Xian also felt a great pressure. His body shattered, and endless blood dyed his body red. However, he did not kneel down. He summoned the great dragon sword spirit back and fused with it. He became one with the sword. Lin Xian opened a domain and enveloped himself. Damn it, what is this? Lin Xian's face was extremely gloomy. The great demon had died, but he had left behind such a disaster. At this moment, the alarm had already sounded on the Lengya star. All the powerhouses had gathered together, and the young disciples were trembling. In the depths of the earth, where some dragon veins and spirit veins were, powerful and sleeping figures opened their eyes. His gaze pierced through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. However, when they saw the terrifying demonic figures standing above the 9 heavens, they all trembled. The first-generation great demon, Damn it, who summoned him? In an instant, figures flew up from the dozen or so dragon veins, bringing with them terrifying laws. They were true saints. As soon as they appeared, they attracted the worship of countless people. Patriarch, what should we do? Patriarch, please make a move and kill the powerful enemy. Protect the Langus star. Countless people shouted. However, the saints' faces were gloomy. They said coldly, "Everyone, enter the array formation and activate it to the extreme to seal the entire Langus star." Patriarch, why aren't you attacking? That's just a phantom. The few powerful half-step saints could not understand. However, the saints frowned. You don't know, that's not an ordinary phantom. That's the first-generation great demon. Even if it's just a phantom, it's not something we can resist. Only death awaits those who oppose him. Unless we're a super saint, we might be able to resist him. What? Is he that terrifying? All the cultivators on the Langus star were stunned when they heard the words of the saints. They knew that they had underestimated the demonic figure. They did not understand the word first generation and did not know how powerful the other party was. However, they believed that their patriarch would not make a mistake. Therefore, everyone went underground. Mountain and river formations flickered one after another. Looking from above the 9 heavens, countless large formations lit up on the Langus star, completely enveloping the entire star world. The Langus star was very powerful. There was only one faction in the star world. So after countless years of reproduction, it could be said to be impregnable. They were even confident that they could resist an extreme weapon. There were even rumors that there were super saints on the Langus star. However, it was obvious that those were the trump cards to suppress everything. They would not be activated unless they had no other choice. Although the first generation's phantom had appeared, it did not directly attack the Langus star. Therefore, the saints were not willing to fight to the death with the other party. Now, they only needed to activate the Langus star's formation to envelop the entire star world and avoid the storm. Chapter 3275. The Langus star shone brighter and brighter. Countless arrays were formed by mountains and rivers. Once they were activated, their power was terrifying to the extreme. Outside the Langus star, the half-step saints who came to ask questions were in danger. They couldn't enter the Langus star at all. At this moment, the saints' arrays that enveloped them had already shattered. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, they all turned into a bloody mist and kept shattering. The scene was extremely terrifying. Between heaven and earth, there was a rain of blood. The phantom of the first demon god was not limited to that. In addition to the Langus star, there were 2 other planets nearby. These 2 planets were relatively weak, and their martial arts were relatively less developed. However, they had also evolved into saints. At this moment, the warriors of these 2 worlds all looked up at the sky. What was going on? Why was there an extremely terrifying power coming over? The half-step saints couldn't help but kneel on the ground. In the worlds, a few saints woke up. Their expressions were extremely ugly. Oh no! Some super terrifying existence had probably arrived nearby. Who was it? They had arrived outside the realm. In the next moment, these saints froze. They saw a figure in the distance. It was abnormally blurry, but the aura it emitted was extremely terrifying. Even though they were saints, they couldn't help but tremble. Oh no, hurry up and leave. The 2 saints immediately made up their minds and fled into the distance. They did not even look back as they used their strongest abilities to flee. The other 3 saints hesitated for a moment. However, they had lost their chance to escape. In front of them, the illusory figure that looked like a demon god suddenly roared. Endless demonic chi surged in the 9 heavens and 10 lands. It engulfed everything. Oh no, hurry up and leave. The remaining three saints' expressions changed drastically as they hurriedly fled. They originally wanted to go down and save their sects and families. But now, they couldn't care less. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. Damn it, this was the world-engulfing demon. He recognized it because he had fought with the great demon for half a year. Of course, he knew this ability. However, the world-engulfing demon that the demon god used was tens of thousands of times stronger than the great demon. Terrifying nomological laws danced in the air. Demonic chi surged into the sky and engulfed everything in an instant. Lin Xian flew quickly, but he was still surrounded by the demonic chi. It wanted to devour him. Damn it! Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. He fused with the great dragon sword spirit and poured all his power into it. In the next moment, he was engulfed. Outside the Langistar, the half-saints who were still alive were swallowed in an instant, wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. The Langistar was shrouded in endless darkness, and the demonic aura was still spreading. The three sages who were fleeing in the distance were instantly enveloped by the demonic aura as soon as they moved. Immediately afterwards, their scalps went numb. They did everything they could to resist, using all types of natural laws. This was the true might of the laws. It was many times stronger than that of a half-saint, but in the end, they were still swallowed up. Boom! Not only them, but the two worlds around them were also enveloped by demonic chi. The boundless universe was temporarily plunged into darkness. There was not even a trace of light. Damn it! The dark red divine dragon felt its scalp go numb as it fled like a madman. Previously, when the great demon had just summoned this devil's shadow, he had already begun to flee. Now he had already left the star field far away, so he had avoided this disaster. Damn it! Looking at the endless demonic aura in front of him, the crimson dragon's face was incomparably pale. It was too terrifying. Such a scene had only appeared during the great darkness turmoil back then. However, at that time, those ancient sages and human sages had held back because once they attacked with all their strength, the entire star world would explode. Therefore, the scene back then was not as terrifying as it was now. This was equivalent to the attack of an extreme weapon. It's over. The people inside probably won't survive. Damn brat. You must let the great dragon sword soul keep a drop of your blood, or your remnant soul. The crimson dragon prayed in his heart. There was another reason why he escaped. That was, the black earth was in his hands. Previously, when Lin Xian was chasing after the great demon, he had handed the black earth to the crimson dragon as a precaution. The octadic treasure snake was sealed inside. There were 7 eyes of time behind the octadic treasure snake, as long as there were eyes of time. So what if he died? He could still revive him. Thinking of the eyes of time, the crimson dragon heaved a sigh of relief. He began to wait, waiting for the dark demonic chi to recede. However, the demonic chi was too terrifying. It wouldn't dissipate in a short period of time. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. There were no changes ahead. 3 months had passed. Half a year had passed. It was still deathly silent ahead. At the same time, the battle between the 9 suns and the great demon had completely spread. Because the scene recorded by the array formation of the 8 great families had also completely spread. Many experts and geniuses from the star realm had witnessed this battle. Were these the great demon and the successor of the 9 suns? It was too terrifying. That's right. I wonder who this successor of the 9 suns is. They couldn't see clearly. His entire body was wrapped in flames. They could only see a pair of golden flame-like eyes and a majestic figure. Other than that, they couldn't see anything else. They couldn't guess who he was at all. These 2 people were definitely the greatest enemies on the path of the great emperor. Many top explorers and peerless powerhouses had cold expressions on their faces. If they wanted to walk the path of the great emperor, they would definitely encounter these two people in the future. Could they defeat them? They deduced in their hearts and soon smiled bitterly. Damn it, they couldn't defeat them. These two people's divine abilities were too powerful. Against such people, they had no chance of winning at all. They didn't know where these two people were now. What was the result? Everyone was discussing animatedly. Many elites and powerhouses from all over the universe began to search. Soon, they realized that something was wrong. This was because some elites and powerhouses wanted to go to the Langistar to seek answers to their questions. However, they found that the Langistar had disappeared. The star field where the Langistar was located was drawn into darkness. It was incomparably dark. Some people tried to force their way in. A half-step saint was instantly killed by the black aura. This scene made everyone's hair stand on end. A half-step saint entered and didn't even cause a ripple. This was definitely an extremely terrifying aura. But why would such a thing appear? Could it be that the Langistar was surrounded by this black aura? More and more powerhouses came to investigate. In the end, even the saints came. 3 saints descended from the sky. They looked at the demonic aura in front of them with incomparably cold expressions. In the end, they concluded that this demonic aura seemed to be the demonic aura of the great demon clan. What? The demonic aura of the great demon? How was this possible? How could that great demon be so terrifying? This demonic aura had the might of a saint. Impossible! Wasn't the great demon a half-step saint? Perhaps an ordinary saint wouldn't be able to display such terrifying demonic aura, right? Chapter 3276. After coming to this conclusion, everyone in the universe was stunned. It was indeed the aura of the great demon clan. But where did this demonic chi come from? We don't know. What kind of divine ability did this great demon use? The black chi near the Wolf Fong star attracted everyone's attention. Many experts came over to investigate, but in the end, they didn't know what kind of divine ability it was. The great demon and the successor of the 9 sons. Could it be that they had perished together? They didn't know that this was all a mystery. At the same time, some families and sacred grounds were also anxious. They realized that the people they sent to the Langistar had disappeared. There was no news at all. Why do I feel that something went wrong? Yes, it was too strange. Some sacred grounds and sects joined forces with many worlds and invited a few sages to take action. Vast sage laws danced between heaven and earth, and the demonic chi in front of them trembled violently. However, these sages frowned. They couldn't get rid of the demonic chi. The demonic chi even began to surge, sending a few sages flying. Those sages vomited blood, and their expressions became incomparably ugly. Not good. They quickly retreated. When the others learned of this scene, their eyes almost popped out. Even the sages had been defeated. What exactly was this? It was over. Everything in the area covered by the demonic chi would probably turn into ashes. Nothing could be left. This was the consensus of everyone. After all, if even the sages couldn't resist the demonic chi, who else could? It seemed that they could only wait for the demonic chi to dissipate on its own. Everyone left. They were no longer disappointed. The star field where the Langistar was located had become a land of death. A sage used his laws to set up a stone tablet here, warning people on the ancient starry sky path not to approach. The cold universe returned to silence once again. Of course, no one knew that there was a spirit ship floating near the black chi, waiting quietly. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. The area ahead was still silent and pitch black. This was still a forbidden land of death. The battle between the great demon and the 9 sons had caused an uproar in the past 3 years. The powerhouses of all the worlds were discussing it, But recently it gradually calmed down because the two of them had completely disappeared. In the past 3 years, they had not appeared even once. Many people guessed that the two of them had perished together, swallowed up by the demonic chi. Peerless geniuses and experts were nothing when they died. Only those who were alive would be remembered forever. The world of cultivation was just that cruel. Moreover, although 3 years wasn't a long time, it was enough time for the top geniuses to shine. Over the past 3 years, many geniuses had risen to prominence and made their names known on the ancient road of the stars. There were also a few who fell, becoming a pile of yellow earth and dust. The world of cultivation was a cruel place. The sea had turned into mulberry fields. The 9 sons inheritor and the great demon had become legends. However, there were a few people who were like dazzling superstars that rose to power. One of them was like the sun at noon. His name was Yen Nantian, and he was the successor of the great emperor. Other than him, the others were also very strong. For example, Long Zhaotian, Zhao Wuliang, and the others were all ranked in the top 5 of the Abyss leaderboard. Of course, even though their rankings were at the bottom, Willow Wood and the others' cultivation had also increased by leaps and bounds. They even decided to go to the Abyss rankings once more to refresh their rankings. This action made countless people look forward to it. One had to know that some people's rankings were from decades ago, or even over 100 years ago. In the past 100 years, no one knew how much these people's strength had grown. However, it would definitely set off a storm on the Abyss rankings. However, when they went to the Falling Abyss, they discovered that the Falling Abyss was temporarily closed. They were actually unable to enter for the test. This made many people sigh. Of course, this wasn't the first time such a thing had happened. Therefore, these people were relatively calm. However, many experts sighed. They were unable to see the changes in the Abyss rankings. Of course, some people began to evaluate the strength of these people based on their own speculations. Yen Nantian has been too strong recently. He's like the sun at noon. I feel that if he enters the Abyss rankings again, he'll probably get first place. Yes, although Di Ling is terrifying, in recent years, he has become very mysterious and elusive. There's no trace of him at all. Therefore, we don't know what his current situation is. There's also this Lin Wudi who is tied for first place with Di Ling. It seems that he has also mysteriously disappeared recently. This Lin Wudi actually has an advantage. When he took the test, many of the top geniuses at that time were ranked for decades or centuries. Therefore, it didn't count at all. He stood in this gap and won first place. Otherwise, if they compete now, his ranking will probably fall. I reckon that he won't even be able to enter the top 5. Indeed, I feel that Yen Nantian has the strength to be first. After him, the second should be Long Zhaotian. Zhao Wuliang is also very strong. I wonder how he compares to Long Zhaotian. Perhaps the two are tied. Perhaps Long Zhaotian is a little stronger, but these 3 people are definitely the new top 3. These people became more and more excited as they discussed. Some people even wanted to make their own decisions and remove Di Ling and Lin Wudi's first place titles. Regarding the Abyss rankings, many powerhouses and geniuses of the star realm were discussing it. Some people had even started to challenge and compete. Most of them were the top geniuses on the rankings. It could be said that for a time, the ancient path of the stars was very lively. Of course, there was one exception, and that was the star domain where the Langus star was located. There was still no one here, because no one dared to come here, not even the saints. There was no one around. However, on this day, there was a change in the endless dark demonic chi in front of them. In the past 3 years, the monstrous demonic chi had not weakened at all. However, on this day, it rapidly weakened. In fact, it was disappearing at the speed of collapse. What was going on? The Crimson Dragon in the nearby spirit ship was immediately alarmed. He looked at the scene in front of him and was extremely surprised. What was going on? Why did the demonic chi disappear? According to his speculation, the demonic chi would exist for at least 100 years, or even a few hundred years. However, he had already made preparations and waited here. Even if he had to wait for 500 years, he had to wait for the demonic chi to dissipate. He was using the Eye of Time to save Lin Xian. However, he did not expect that in just 3 years, the demonic chi in front of him would disappear. Could it be that the demonic shadow had disappeared? The Crimson Dragon's eyes flickered. Thinking about it, it was possible. Although the great demon was terrifying and had burned its life to summon it, it was only summoned. It could not exist in this universe forever. It was estimated that in 3 years, its power had been exhausted. The demonic shadow had disappeared again, causing the surrounding demonic chi to disappear. Chapter 3277. The Crimson Dragon guessed, but he didn't care about the specific reason. As long as the demonic aura disappeared, it was a good thing for him. The demonic aura disappeared very quickly. In the blink of an eye, more than half of it disappeared between heaven and earth, and the scene inside was also revealed. The shattered void was quickly healing, and the surroundings were pitch black. There were originally 3 star worlds here, but 2 of them had disappeared. If one looked carefully, one would find that they were full of cracks and had been torn apart. The 2 worlds had been completely destroyed. The warriors and billions of creatures on the worlds had all been killed. None of them had escaped. Even the sages had been destroyed in body and soul. The Crimson Dragon drove the spirit boat and quickly shuttled through the void. When he saw this scene, his scalp went numb. Damn it, it's too terrifying. What kind of strength did he have to be able to create such a terrifying scene? With one strike, 2 star worlds had been destroyed. The Crimson Dragon's face was extremely gloomy because he felt that Lin Xian was probably in danger. The demonic aura retreated very quickly, and the Crimson Dragon shuttled through the void at an extremely fast speed. Finally, he saw that of light in front of him. It was the Langus star. At this moment, the array on the Langus star had become dark, and many places were full of cracks. Some places were cracked, but most of the places were fine. It seemed that the Langus star had not been destroyed and had survived. As expected of a very mysterious world on the ancient path of the stars, it had actually survived. The Crimson Dragon was surprised. He glanced at it and no longer paid attention. He quickly searched for Lin Xian's figure. The surroundings were dark and cold, and resentment was monstrous because countless powerhouses and half-sages had died here. Damn kid, he's not dead, right? The Crimson Dragon was a little anxious. He still hadn't found any trace of Lin Xian. No, the Dragon Sword soul shouldn't have been destroyed. He quickly sensed his aura. The Crimson Dragon probed his soul and searched in all directions. Whoosh! When the darkness faded a little, the Crimson Dragon suddenly screamed. He sensed it. He flew out of the spirit boat and quickly flew forward. Soon he arrived at a place. The dragon's shadow flickered in front of them, lingering there. The light that it emitted was also much dimmer, appearing like a lone lamp in the dark night. Found it, the great dragon sword spirit. The Crimson Dragon was excited. Not only did he see the great dragon sword spirit, but he also saw Lin Xian. At this moment, Lin Xian was surrounded by the great dragon sword spirit. His body was damaged beyond recognition. His entire body had turned into a skeleton, and all his blood had flowed out. However, the Crimson Dragon was extremely excited. He originally thought that there were only a few drops of blood left, but now it seemed that the situation was much better than he imagined. "Kid, are you all right?" The Crimson Dragon rushed over and asked a few questions, but there was no response. He struck out with a great divine ability, wrapping around Lin Xian and bringing him away. At this time, the golden bones suddenly trembled slightly, and two small golden flames lit up in its eye sockets. Following that, Lin Xian sent a spiritual message. "You're not dead yet. Hurry up and leave." After saying these words, the flames in the golden eye sockets also disappeared. The Crimson Dragon was wild with joy. "That's great." He wrapped Lin Xian up and sent him into the spirit boat. In the next moment, he activated the spirit boat, streaked across the void, and instantly disappeared. Not long after he left, all of the darkness in the entire star field vanished. After a while, the Langus star suddenly emitted an incomparable light, and the array formation on the mountains and rivers quickly disappeared. The martial artists on the ground quickly woke up and flew up. They waited for a while and found that the darkness had indeed retreated. They heaved a sigh of relief. Some powerful half-saints and geniuses flew away and came to the outer realm. When they saw the cold universe around them and nothing was left, they were all shocked. Could it be that the darkness had really retreated? What about the successor of the 9 sons? If they didn't know, they would have died long ago. Damn it! The great demon actually attacked our Langus star as well. Many people's faces turned cold. Indeed, a portion of the Langus star's array formation had been shattered, and demonic chi had entered. The monstrous aura there had formed a forbidden land of death. But overall, they were already doing very well. Soon, they sent people to search the entire star field, and they found 2 destroyed worlds. When the news came back, the warriors of the Langus star were all stunned. Were the 2 worlds destroyed just like that? None of them escaped. How was that possible? Some of the younger martial artists were trembling. They also knew about the 2 star realms, because they were not far from them. Although the martial path was not as developed as theirs, there were still saints there. But now, everything was reduced to ashes. Langus star, Langus pavilion. A few old men sat there with cold expressions, holding ancient turtle shells in their hands. It seemed that they were divining something. Crack! Suddenly, a turtle shell in front of them quickly formed a military formation. It split into 2 halves from the middle, as if it had been split by a knife. Seeing this scene, an old man in a star robe sighed. The great demon should be dead. Let's see what happened to the successor of the 9 sons. Next, they divined again. This time, the tortoise shell exploded into pieces with a bang. That energy gave them a fright. Their faces were extremely cold. At that moment, an old voice sounded from the void. Stop divining the successor of the 9 sons. In addition, inform everyone that no matter who asks about the successor of the 9 sons in the future, they are not allowed to spread the news to avoid causing trouble. Yes, in the hall, the old men quickly responded. At the same time, they were extremely shocked. One had to know that they were using extremely advanced and terrifying deduction techniques. Previously, when they were divining the life and death of the great demon, the turtle shell had split into 2 halves from the middle. This situation meant that the person was already dead. When they recommended the successor of the 9 sons, the turtle shell also cracked, but it did not split from the middle. Instead, it split into pieces and exploded with a bang. That was a warning. This meant that the successor of the 9 sons had some kind of energy that prevented them from divining. It even posed a threat to them. Could it be that the successor of the 9 sons was not dead? These elders were extremely shocked. They sucked in a breath of cold air. No way. That terrifying demonic energy had destroyed the 2 worlds nearby, but the successor of the 9 sons was still alive. They really did not dare to believe it. How did the other party block it? Or did the other party have some way to revive the dead? However, with such terrifying destruction, even a saint had been killed. Could it be that the other party had an immortal medicine? They did not know that. However, They felt that the successor of the nine sons was not dead. If he was dead, the turtle shell would not have split into pieces, and it would not have posed a threat or a warning to them. Chapter 3278. However, they were the only ones who knew about this. They would never spread the news. The demonic aura receded, and the reappearance of the Langya star alarmed the others once again. Many people from all the realms in the universe flew over to investigate the ancient starry sky path, where was the great demon and the successor of the nine sons. They were extremely shocked. Did they really perish together? When they saw the two star realms being torn apart, they were stunned. Heavens! I remember that these two worlds used to be full of vitality. Moreover, there were billions of living beings, and there were sages among them. Why is there no vitality at all now? Furthermore, they were torn apart. Could it be caused by the demonic aura? Thinking of this, they gasped. It's over. The successor of the nine sons is definitely dead. Both worlds were destroyed. There was no way he could survive. These people shook their heads and sighed. They felt that there was no need to ask anymore. In fact, some of the young geniuses heaved a sigh of relief. They had all seen the battle between the great demon and the successor of the nine sons and were shocked. If the two of them were still alive, the threat they posed would be too great. Perhaps only a few people, such as the princes and princesses and the successors of Thearchs, could fight against such existences. Other than that, the others were not enough. But now, these two extremely powerful experts had actually perished together. Well, that meant that they had lost two super powerful enemies. Planet Suzaku, in the spirit vein of the mountains, a handsome man stood with his hands behind his back. There was a formation in front of him, and news was coming from it. They were really dead. They had perished together. What an unexpected harvest! This man was Yen Nantian. When he learned that Lin Xian and the great demon had perished together, he smiled. This way, there were almost no one who could threaten him. What successor of the nine sons? What great demon? They were all killed by my little trick. Humph! Only I can become a Tharch. Yen Nantian's eyes shone with a cold light. In the cold void of the universe, a slender man with a serious look in his eyes was followed by a beautiful woman. At this moment, she was also frowning. Was that kid really dead? Sigh. The slender man sighed and shook his head. The news had already spread, and it seemed like it was true. After all, the demon was his nemesis. Moreover, according to the people of the Langya Star, the great devil burned his life to summon the first devil king. That was an extremely terrifying existence. That person's attack had destroyed two worlds. It was likely that Lin Xian would not be able to survive. The news spread everywhere. Those who were ranked at the top of the Abyss leaderboard all received the news. They all had different thoughts. Some were regretful, some were gloating, and some were happy. However, they didn't know that there was an extremely ordinary world of stars on the ancient path of stars. Inside, the Crimson Dragon landed. He found an extremely secluded place and set up an array formation. Then, he brought Lin Xian into the Black Earth. The Crimson Dragon did not hesitate to cast an eye of time. The octatic treasure snake was already confused by the illusion, so it obediently used the eye of time. A scarlet eye appeared on its back, flickering with incomparably mysterious runes. Then, it slowly healed. Buzz! Something miraculous happened. An incomparably mysterious aura appeared on Lin Xian's body. That was the power of time. The reversal of time caused Lin Xian's body, which was on the verge of death, to rapidly recover. In almost the blink of an eye, Lin Xian had already recovered. If others saw this scene, they would definitely be stunned. Even a saint would be scared to death. One had to know that the injuries he suffered would not recover without a few hundred years. But now, Lin Xian had recovered in the blink of an eye. Only the legendary elixir of immortality could cause such a scene. What a magical thing. The crimson dragon swallowed his saliva. Now, there were only 6 Eye of Time left. No wonder there was still a certain number of octatic treasure snakes in the past. But because of the Eye of Time, the octatic treasure snakes were extinct. Lin Xian being able to subdue an octatic treasure snake was a pleasant surprise. Otherwise, although he wouldn't be dead now, if he wanted to recover to his peak, he would have to spend 100 or 200 years. And this time was too long. Especially on the path to becoming a great emperor, he would be left far behind. Kid, how you feel? The crimson dragon raised its head and looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief and looked at his own body. What a miraculous power. I actually recovered completely. Not only that, but my memories haven't reversed. I still remember the previous battle. Was this the Eye of Time? It was too mysterious. The power of time was too strange. Even Lin Xian couldn't capture it at all. He couldn't even understand it. The first thing he did after recovering was to use the eye technique on the octatic treasure snake again. After tasting the magic and terror of the Eye of Time, Lin Xian felt more and more that he had to subdue this octatic treasure snake. He wouldn't kill it. He wanted it to live well and even reproduce. After using the illusion technique on the octatic treasure snake again and making sure there weren't any accidents, Lin Xian sighed in relief. Then he asked about what happened after he was wrapped up by the World Devourer demon. The Crimson Dragon gave a simple explanation. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. Other than the shocking news of his battle with the great demon, there wasn't anything else. Kid, what do you plan to do next? The Crimson Dragon asked. I'll go into seclusion to comprehend and cultivate. Because I came back from the dead this time, I have a new understanding of heaven and earth. I even have a new understanding of life. After that, it's time to look for Yen Nantian to settle things. When Yen Nantian was mentioned, Lin Xian's eyes erupted with a biting cold light. It was Yen Nantian who had leaked information about him to the great demon, causing the great demon to chase after him. This method of borrowing a knife to kill someone was really sinister. Although Lin Xian had killed the great demon, he still wouldn't let Yen Nantian off. All right, then you go and cultivate, the Crimson Dragon said. Then he called Little White, and the two of them left. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged again. This time, it was as if he had died once and come back from the dead. He had a new understanding of heaven and earth, nature, and life, so he had to quickly comprehend it. Previously, the first great demon's devourer of the world was too shocking. That power that could destroy everything was shocking. This was the same for Lin Xian. Moreover, he had a deeper understanding of it than anyone else. Because this attack was aimed at him, Weng, his fire precept fragment, was also rapidly improving, and a trace of destructive power was channeled out from the middle. Lin Xian comprehended the fire precept, and based on his experience of the devourer of the world, he created an ultimate technique, Annihilation Fiery Lotus. This was called a nomological mystique. Compared to the fragments of ordinary usage methods, the power of these fragments was much stronger. Generally, only true sages could create nomological mystiques. But now, Lin Xian had succeeded in creating one in advance. It had to be said that it was really shocking. Chapter 3279. This was not the end. Lin Xian created a new law mystique based on the power of annihilation and the terrifying scene from before, snap of the fingers. Lin Xian tried this law mystique. He condensed the annihilation law fragment to the tip of his finger and flicked it lightly. Instantly, the area in front of him was reduced to ashes. What terrifying power! Lin Xian was also amazed. He continued to comprehend. He had experienced death. Although he had the great dragon sword soul protecting him at that time, This demon swallows the world was too terrifying. Even saints could be easily killed, so he was also seriously injured. His flesh and blood were all dried up, and the golden bones in his body were also broken. Not a single part of him was intact. Those 3 years were really torturous. However, he had managed to endure it all. Of course, in addition to the protection of the great dragon sword soul, Lin Xian had been using the law of wood to maintain his vitality. He created his own mystique, recuperation. This mystique was created using the law of wood. It was not an offensive mystique, but a mystique for daily recuperation. Of course, he also had another experience, and that was being seriously injured and on the verge of death, instantly recovering. This experience was too shocking. Probably not many people had experienced it before. Perhaps only the great emperor back then could have such an experience after eating the elixir of immortality. Lin Xian combined the law of fire and the law of wood with this experience and created his own mystique, nirvana rebirth. This mystique was different from recuperation. Recuperation was suitable for a long time, the kind of cultivation that moistened the rains silently, while nirvana rebirth was very suitable for battle. Serious injuries in battle could be recovered immediately. Lin Xian had experienced life and death, comprehended heaven and earth, and created 4 great mystiques. These 4 great mystiques were very terrifying, enough to fight against saints. With Lin Xian's current strength, if he wanted to fight against the great demon, he probably would not give the great demon a chance to use the blood sacrifice. He could use these 4 great mystiques to kill the other party. Now, his strength had improved comprehensively compared to before. It could be said that he had profited from a disaster. The benefits he had obtained from the battle were simply too great. So great that Lin Xian could not imagine it. What powerful strength! He could clearly feel the increase in his strength, and he was overjoyed. After cultivating for a while, Lin Fan stabilized his condition. Lin Xian once again sat cross-legged and closed his eyes to cultivate. However, 3 days later, he opened his eyes and muttered to himself, "Not good." Outside, the Crimson Dragon also rushed in and said anxiously, "Kid, what are you feeling?" Snow White Little Marquis was also blinking her big eyes. It seemed like she was going to be struck by lightning. That was indeed the case. Outside, countless thunderclouds were gathering. It seemed like a lightning tribulation was about to happen. Furthermore, from the looks of it, the lightning tribulation was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian, on the other hand, had a serious look on his face. "I wonder if I'm about to break through?" "What?" The Crimson Dragon's eyes widened in disbelief. "What breakthrough? Could it be that you want to break through to the Saint Realm?" Thinking of this, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Lin Xian had just broken through to the half-Saint Realm. Was he going to break through to the Saint Realm now? What kind of cultivation speed was this? If this news were to spread, it would definitely shock everyone to death. Such a young saint. There were probably only a few of them in the entire universe. However, thinking of Lin Xian's experience, he understood. Lin Xian had fought with the great demon for half a year. That battle was truly earth-shattering. After that, he suffered from the demon swallowing the world. That 3 years of suffering was something that no one else had experienced in 3,000 years. Lin Xian had also instantly recovered from the realm of death and reached his peak. This feeling of nirvana was probably something that other saints would not be able to experience. This experience was simply too precious. No wonder Lin Xian could break through to the saint realm so quickly. All right, then break through with all your strength. We'll retreat and wait around. This world is more ordinary. There aren't many powerful people here, and it won't attract the attention of other powerful enemies. It's best for you to break through here. As he spoke, he was about to leave with Little White. No. Lin Xian shook his head. No, Rosalong, hurry up and help me suppress it. I can't break through. I feel that this should be a fragment of the law of fire. I want to break through and become a true law of fire. That way, I will become a fire saint. But my goal is to become a 5-element saint. I want to collect the 5 elements Tao stones and fuse the power of the 5 elements. That way, once I break through, my strength will undergo an earth-shattering change. Even among saints, it's extremely terrifying. Now, breaking through to the fire saint realm conflicts with my goal. Moreover, if I want to fuse the 5 elements laws in the future, it will probably be much more difficult than now. So, I can't break through now. That's true. Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon fell silent. That's true. After breaking through to the saint realm with the 5 elements laws, there's an astonishing difference in strength. So now, it's understandable that Lin Xian doesn't want to break through. Sai, there's no other way. I can only help you. Kid, you have to think carefully. Suppressing your cultivation is very dangerous, especially for you. Now that you're about to break through to the saint realm, if you're not careful, the lightning tribulation will be much more terrifying than before. There's even the danger of dying. It's okay. I've survived the first great demon's demon swallowing the world. I'll definitely be able to withstand this saint lightning tribulation. Lin Xian's eyes burst out with a piercing cold light. Good. The Crimson Dragon said, I have a way. Previously, I even thought about what would happen if I broke through to the Fire Saint realm. What is it? Hurry up and tell me. Lin Xian quickly asked. In the sky, more and more lightning flashed. Even the martial artists in this world were terrified. What's going on? Why are there so many terrifying lightning bolts? But fortunately, this world was too ordinary. In the face of such a terrifying lightning tribulation, no one dared to inquire, and could only hide far away. Therefore, there was no one near Lin Xian at all. Inside the array, the Crimson Dragon quickly said, with the great dragon sword spirit as the core, we'll set up an array to forcibly suppress your cultivation temporarily. This way, you can hold on for 2 years. But it's only 2 years. Next time, it won't be so easy to suppress. After 2 years, if you don't break through to the saint realm, the lightning tribulation will definitely be at the level of destruction. Kid, you have to think carefully. 2 years. It's too short. Lin Xian sighed. In these 2 years, it's very likely that I won't be able to find a 5-star Tao stone. However, I must gamble. Otherwise, he would definitely not be satisfied if he did nothing. All right, 2 years, 2 years. Hurry up and do it, Lin Xian said. The Crimson Dragon quickly waved its dragon claws. You control the great dragon sword spirit. I'll use it as an array to form a cultivation suppression array in your body. You have to bear it. Next, Lin Xian controlled the great dragon sword spirit while the Crimson Dragon set up an array in his body. Chapter 30-280. This process lasted for 10 days and 10 nights. In the sky, the thunderclouds gradually gathered. However, on the 10th day, they disappeared in a strange manner. It was a success. The snow-white monkey looked at the disappearing clouds in the sky and squeaked. The Crimson Dragon and Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. You're too abnormal, breaking through to the saint stage in such a short time. I'm really envious of Ben Huang. The Crimson Dragon bared his fangs and said. He hurriedly swallowed the heaven and earth treasure and said, there are only 2 years left. We don't have much time. Let's hurry up and leave. And Lin Xian nodded. He had 2 Tao stones in his hands now, and he still had to find the other 3. And the most important thing was the magnetic stones. It could be said that there was still a long way to go. He didn't waste any time and quickly packed up. His goal was still the Langya Star. Only the Langya Star could tell him where the remaining Tao stones were. The last time he asked, he had already spent most of his divine crystals and didn't have much left. He did have some gains on the elven planet, but most of them were spirit herbs that he needed. Hence, Lin Xian didn't want to give them to him. As for the Eye of Time, it was even more impossible for him to reveal it. Hence, Lin Xian was prepared to agree to the Langya Star's conditions and help them in exchange for information. The Langya Star was fully open at this moment, so the nearby star field was bustling again. When those powerhouses and geniuses arrived at this star field, they all sighed. This was because 3 years ago, this place was still a land of death. No one dared to come here, not even saints, but now this place had regained its peace. However, the great demon and the successor of the 9 sons who had stirred up a storm that day had already disappeared. Near the star field, a spirit ship flew over. Inside, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon looked around and heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it seemed that the Langya Star was fine. This way they could enter and ask. As it wasn't his first time coming to the Langya Star, Lin Xian had a certain understanding of the rules of the Langya Star. Hence this time, his speed was even faster than before. Once again, he arrived at the 12th region, the 8th palace. This time, the one who received him was the same woman from last time. The woman looked at Lin Xian and was extremely surprised. The other party had come to ask about the whereabouts of the Dao stone so quickly. Could it be that he had obtained that Dao stone? Of course, she was just curious and wouldn't ask. The rules of the Langya Star forbade anyone from inquiring about their guests. Lin Xian asked again. I don't have enough divine crystals, but the last time I came, I heard that I could help you complete a task to obtain information. Would it work this time? Oh, you want to work for us in exchange for information? This time, the woman was extremely surprised. She looked at Lin Xian seriously and then nodded. Okay. Just as she was about to mention the mission, her eyebrows suddenly twitched. She heard a voice transmission. The voice transmission took her by surprise. Asking him to go to the void ocean meant that this kid's identity was not simple. The woman was stunned for a moment before saying, Young master, please wait a moment. I will go and sort out the mission. With that, she disappeared into the void. When she appeared again, she was in a sealed space. There were 2 old men sitting there drinking tea and discussing the Tao. The woman respectfully walked in front of the 2 old men and greeted them. What was so special about that kid? Why did they want him to go to the void ocean? The void ocean was not a simple place. Ordinary half-sages would not be able to return after entering. Wasn't it too risky to let this kid go? One of the red-robed elders raised his head. You might not have noticed it yet, but don't forget where this kid went last time. The last time he asked about the Wood Dao stone, I gave him 3 pieces of information. The beautiful woman frowned in thought. At this moment, the red-robed elder spoke again. Among the 3 pieces of information, is one of them about the Elven planet? Think about what happened on the Elven planet in the past few years. I think you should understand. Elven planet. The woman was stunned for a moment before she seemed to have thought of something, and her expression changed. The Elven planet was the place where the battle between the 9 sons' successor and the great demon began. Could it be that this kid was related to those 2? Take another guess. The red-robed elder asked, with a smile that was not a smile. Could it be that this guy was the successor of the 9 sons? The woman thought of a possibility that shocked even herself. She quickly shook her head. Impossible. The great demon and the successor of the 9 sons perished together. It was impossible for the other party to be alive. It was impossible for this kid to be the successor of the 9 sons. At this moment, the white-robed elder also turned his head. We are not sure if he is the successor of the 9 sons because the heavenly secrets of the successor of the 9 sons are covered, and we can't deduce it. If we forcefully deduce it, I'm afraid we will attract heavenly tribulation. However, the saint ancestor sent news that the moment the other party entered the Langya planet, there was still a terrifying demonic aura left in a certain place on the Langya planet. The demonic aura inside trembled violently and seemed to be roaring out. When other people came here, there was no abnormality at all. Even if a saint descended, there would be no problem. But when he entered, the demonic aura became crazy. This demonic aura was produced by the great demon. To be able to make the demonic aura of the great demon so violent, other than the successor of the 9 sons, I can't think of anyone else. Hearing this, the beautiful woman's expression changed instantly. Her mind went blank. She really couldn't imagine that the young man she received had such a background. Of course, she knew that all of this was just speculation because they didn't have any evidence to prove that the other party was the successor of the 9 sons. However, these speculations were enough to shock her. Taking a deep breath, the beautiful woman asked, "May I know what the 2 elders mean?" The saint ancestor sent news that although the demonic aura scattered on the Langya planet is not much, it is still a hidden danger. If we don't get rid of it quickly, there will be unforeseen events in the future. And the demonic aura is related to the first great demon. It won't be easy to get rid of it. Moreover, once the demonic aura goes crazy, it will cause unforeseen events. After all, the great demons are all lunatics. If the demonic aura self-destructs, the Langya planet will be severely damaged. Therefore, according to the saint ancestor, we should find a peaceful way to suppress the demonic aura. There is a Saint Dharma idol in the Void Sea. Take it out and suppress the demonic aura. This will ensure the safety of the Langya planet. After hearing this, the beautiful woman frowned. A Saint Dharma idol? Our Langya planet has more than one saint. Why do we need someone else's Saint Dharma idol? This is not an ordinary saint, but the Dharma idol of a great saint. Moreover, in addition to being a great saint, that saint is also a lord. He cultivates the righteous energy of heaven and earth, which has an extremely strong suppressive effect on demonic aura. His Dharma idol is the most suitable. Don't forget that there is a seed of the green demon vine under the Langya planet. If that seed is affected by the demonic aura, it will be dangerous. Chapter 3281. Hearing this, the beautiful woman's body trembled, and fear appeared in her eyes. She didn't expect there to be so many things behind this. However, the Void Sea was too dangerous. Could this kid really do it? She was still very doubtful. The red-robed elder said again, "According to our calculations, the Void Sea will open soon. However, that place is controlled by several large forces. If you want to enter that place, you can't force your way in. Let him go to planet Suzaku, get a good ranking, and then get the right to enter the Void Sea. Why don't we just let him represent us and go to the Void Sea? Why go through so much trouble?" The beautiful woman was puzzled again. What we want is the Supreme Sage Dharma idol. That thing is also a treasure to others. If we don't give that kid some benefits, do you think he will give it to us for free? Tell him that if he gets first place in the battle on planet Suzaku, he will get the Earth Tao Stone. At that time, he will go to the Void Sea and get the Water Tao Stone. I think this kid wants the 5-element Tao Stone. Maybe he wants to comprehend the 5-element Tao Stone. So he definitely won't refuse this news. After he returns with the Supreme Sage Dharma idol, we will give him some free information and give him the title of Honorary Elder of Planet Langya. I don't think he will refuse. Indeed, although the Supreme Sage Dharma idol is precious, it is only to some people. For example, to us, it is incomparably precious. But to that kid, although it is precious, it is inferior to the Tao Stone. So, hurry up and tell him this news. Yes, the beautiful woman quickly nodded and returned to the 8th palace. "May I know what mission Senior has for me?" Lin Xian quickly asked. He really didn't have much time left. He only had 2 years. This is a chain mission. Can you do it? If you can, you might get more than 1 Tao Stone. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. that I want other Tao stones. Based on your body temperature, I can guess a thing or two. But don't worry, our planet Langya has its own rules. We won't reveal young master's secret. Yes, Lin Xian nodded. He knew that for the Langya star to be able to stand for so many years and be highly respected, it must have strict rules. He wasn't too worried about this. So he said, "Okay, what's the mission?" The beautiful woman said that in 3 months, there will be a competition on planet Suzaku. Battle on planet Suzaku? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. What did this have to do with him? The beautiful woman said, Planet Suzaku organized this competition to give the most recent geniuses a ranking, because recently it was time to challenge the Abyss ranking again, but for some reason, the falling abyss was closed. For the time being, those geniuses were unable to be ranked again. And at this time, there were still many geniuses fighting amongst themselves. This caused a lot of commotion. Therefore, Planet Suzaku wanted to organize a competition to gather all of the geniuses from the ancient path of stars and battle it out to determine the winner. Then, a vermilion bird leaderboard appeared. Vermilion bird roll. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. What good would this do for Planet Suzaku? Naturally, it was to create momentum. Their planet Suzaku had recently obtained a genius, and they had spared no effort in promoting this genius. Oh, a genius? What kind of genius could make a planet go through so much trouble? The beautiful woman said, the successor of a great emperor, Yen Nantian. After hearing this name, Lin Xian's pupils shrank and killing intent appeared in his eyes. But soon, the killing intent disappeared. What does Yen Nantian have to do with Planet Suzaku? You don't know. This time, the beautiful woman was extremely shocked. This was a big thing that had happened in the past few years. Although it wasn't as big as the battle between the successor of the 9 sons and the great demon, it was still something that everyone knew about. The successor of a great emperor, Yen Nantian, had joined the Suzaku Palace. Yen Nantian was very powerful, his talent was even better, and he had the inheritance of a great emperor. He was constantly improving. He was a popular candidate to become a great emperor on the path to becoming a great emperor. Many people had placed their bets on him. Think about it. If the Suzaku Palace nurtured Yen Nantian to become a great emperor, then the Suzaku Palace would reach the peak and suppress all the worlds. How could the Suzaku Palace give up such an opportunity? There was such a thing. Lin Xian was really shocked. In these past few years, he had been suppressed by the demonic energy, so he naturally didn't know what was going on outside. He didn't expect Yen Nantian to collude with the Suzaku Palace. It looked like the Suzaku Palace was an incredible monster. Of course, the Suzaku Palace occupied the entire planet and was one of the top powers on the ancient path. Also, the Suzaku Palace had put in a lot of effort to attract powerful geniuses. If they could get a good result in the battle rankings, they would be able to obtain a lot of treasures. Also, they would have the right to enter the Void Sea. The Void Sea. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. What kind of place was that? Seeing Lin Xian's curiosity, the beautiful woman said, "The Void Sea is still in the universe. It is a very strange place. To be honest, the main mission we are giving you is the Void Sea. However, entering the Void Sea is very dangerous and requires a lot of strength. Therefore, we will test your strength first. You will go to planet Suzaku to fight. If you can get into the top 5, then we will recognize your qualifications. Of course, don't worry. We are letting you go to planet Suzaku for your own good. If you can get to the top of planet Suzaku, then you will be able to obtain an Earth Tao stone. Of course, even if you can't get first place, we will still give you information about the Earth Tao stone. At the same time, entering the Void Sea is also beneficial to you, because there is the whereabouts of the Water Tao stone. When you retrieve what we want from the Void Sea, we will give you a Metal Tao stone. This way, you will be able to obtain 3 Tao stones. Hearing the beautiful woman's words, Lin Xian was extremely shocked. 3 Tao stones. And from the looks of it, if everything went well, he would be able to gather 5. This made him very tempted. One had to know that he only had 2 years. Originally, he thought that it would be very difficult to complete it in 2 years. This was because it took him more than half a year just to go to the elven planet. After that, he still had to search for a battle. It was possible to gather all of them together, but it was impossible to gather all 3. But now, the beautiful woman told him that he might be able to gather all 3 at once. This made him extremely tempted. Once he obtained these 3 Tao stones, his 5-element Tao stones would be complete. Next, he only needed 1 origin magnetic stone. I wonder what you guys want me to obtain from the Void Sea? Lin Xian took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice. The other party had spent so much effort to get him to go to the Void Sea, so the things they wanted him to obtain were definitely not simple. His companions seemed to be nearby, and they immediately flew over to support him. Let's go. Shwe shwe shwez. Shwe shwe. Lin lin shwe. Lin shwe shwe. Shwe shwe lin. Shwe shwe shwe. Lin Xian saw the man's last gaze, and he was baffled. Shwe 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 shwe. He shook his head and stopped paying attention. Time was of the essence. He had to leave and head to planet Suzaku. He didn't care about anything else. With a sway of his body, he soared into the sky and completely disappeared into the void. The injured man's eyes became cold as he said to his shwe 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 shwe, "Where's my big brother? I want to see him. I have to see him quickly." Are you talking about Big Brother Zhao? He's in the 3rd area. Let's go. The green-robed man flew into the air. His 2 companions followed closely behind him. Soon, they arrived at the 3rd area. The green-robed man sent a voice transmission. "Big brother, are you there? I need to see you. I have an urgent matter." Buzz. The void rippled, and a ray of white light shot out from the 3rd area. It turned into a shadow. It was a majestic man with a powerful aura. However, from the looks of it, it was only an illusion. The man's main body was still inside. The green-robed man was happy to see the illusion. "What's going on? Are you injured?" The illusory man frowned when he saw this. "Big brother, I saw a person earlier. I felt an extremely terrifying power from him. That power was very obscure. If I didn't cultivate my family's eye technique, I wouldn't have been able to sense it." Hearing this, the illusion quickly asked what happened next. "What did you sense?" "I don't know. I can't explain it, but it's not any power I've seen before. It's very likely that it's one of the strongest powers. That kid definitely has it. It shouldn't be his own power. Perhaps it's some kind of treasure." Hearing this, the illusory man furrowed his brows. The strongest few powers? Time is supreme and space is king. Could it be the power of space? As for the power of time, he didn't dare to imagine it. In his opinion, no one could control that power. The power of space was already very terrifying. It's very likely that it's a space treasure. He actually has a space treasure. Who is he? Do you know his identity? The illusion asked. "I don't know, but I've already memorized his appearance. Also, I left the 10,000 miles incense on him. With our eye technique, we can definitely catch up to him. Big brother, let's act quickly. We can't miss this chance. Obtaining the space treasure will be of great help to you when you participate in the battle on planet Suzaku." Hearing this, the illusion became silent. "I still have things to do in the 3rd region. This matter is very important to me, right? What's that person's cultivation level?" "I don't know. I've never seen him before. He doesn't have any terrifying aura. However, his soul should be stronger than mine. He injured me in an instant. My soul is also injured." "Oh, Soul attack type? How about this? I'll create an avatar and enter your body. Then I'll find a few people to capture that kid. Big brother, is this okay? That kid is not simple. The green-robed man frowned. The illusion sneered. So what if he's not simple? My avatar is not something an ordinary half-saint can resist. Besides, the ones I found this time are the top few on the Abyss leaderboard. Don't worry, it'll be very easy for them to capture that kid. However, I'm afraid you'll have to suffer a bit if my avatar enters your body. Don't worry, big brother. The green-robed man shook his head. The next moment, more white lights rushed out from the third region. They became stronger and stronger. Then, the illusion man's figure became more and more terrifying. His aura was much stronger than that of an ordinary half-saint. Even the top geniuses couldn't compare. This man's avatar is so terrifying. I wonder how terrifying this man's true body is. Chapter 3283. Boom. The illusory man entered the green-robed man's body. The green-robed man let out a miserable scream. His eyes were filled with madness and pain. However, he soon stopped screaming. His eyes were incomparably deep, and a cold smile appeared on his face. Someone with a spatial treasure? You can't escape from the palm of my hand. This illusory man was actually Zhao Wuliang's avatar. Zhao Wuliang was ranked 5th on the Abyss leaderboard. His strength was very terrifying. He was a veteran prodigy and a peerless expert. Moreover, it was said that he was ranked 5th 90 years ago. No one knew what level Zhao Wuliang had reached now. However, it was definitely terrifying. My current body should be able to use about 70% of my strength. However, just in case, I have to find a few helpers. After entering his younger brother's body, Zhao Wuliang frowned. He found that his younger brother's soul injury was very strange. It seemed that the other party's soul was also very powerful. He had to be careful. Also, when he read that person's appearance in his mind, he found that although the other party looked very ordinary, his calm eyes contained a sense of vastness. It seemed that he wasn't a simple person. As for the other party, he had never seen him before and didn't know who he was. No matter who you are, no one is my match. I remember that those purple-ranked fellows should be here as well. If I let them attack together, it will be absolutely safe. Lin Xian flew into the sky, left planet Langya, and flew toward the outer space. He was still thinking that planet Lang didn't help him teleport, and directly teleported him to planet Suzaku, saving him the trouble of flying back and forth. However, he also knew that planet Langya was still testing him to see if he was qualified to enter the Void Sea. It was likely that planet Langya wouldn't provide him with any help before he obtained a ranking on the Suzaku leaderboard. However, he didn't care because 3 months should be enough to fly from here to planet Suzaku. However, he stopped after flying for half a day. He frowned and said coldly, "After following me for so long, it's time to come out." The surroundings were dark, and there was no one around. There were only occasional flashes of light. There was no one around. Was Lin Xian talking to a ghost? "Brat, your soul is quite powerful. You can actually sense my presence." At this moment, a cold voice sounded. Lin Xian turned his head and saw a figure walking out from behind. He was very young and had a heroic bearing. His eyes shone with a piercingly cold light. "Who are you?" he asked in a deep voice. "I am Gao Chong, ranked 13th on the Abyss rankings." An arrogant voice sounded. If anyone else was here and heard this, they would definitely be scared silly. This person was actually Gao Chong, ranked 13th on the Abyss leaderboard. It was truly shocking. The Abyss ranking list was filled with top experts. Being ranked 13th was enough to show how powerful the other party was. Ranking 13th, Gao Chong? Lin Xian was also stunned. the other party was looking for him? Lin Xian asked, "Why are you looking for me?" "I heard that you have a magic treasure in your possession. I wonder if you can give it to me." Gao Cheng's voice was still cold, with a hint of arrogance, as if he didn't put Lin Xian in his eyes. "The magical equipment on my body?" Lin Xian frowned. What was going on? He did have the Eye of Time. Were these people here for the Eye of Time? It shouldn't be. No one should know about this thing. Could it be that the news had been leaked? But how could it be? Lin Xian's mind raced. In an instant, suddenly, he remembered that when he left the Wolf Fong planet, a man in a green robe had once used his soul to spy on him. Could it be that that man had discovered his secret? No, no one could discover the secret on his body, not even a sage. Moreover, although that man in a green robe was powerful, his soul was still much weaker than his. How could he discover his secret? Then what was going on? Magic treasure. What magic treasure? He asked with a frown. Don't hide it. We have already found out that you have a spatial magic treasure on you. Hand it over, and we can let you live. At this moment, the void behind Lin Xian split open, and another voice sounded. Lin Xian glanced behind him. That person was surrounded by terrifying lightning, like a god of thunder. His powerful strength was enough to suppress an area. "I am Yan Kuan, ranked 10th on the Abyss leaderboard." Even more arrogant, this voice sounded. Lin Xian didn't care about the other party's name. He was now thinking about what the other party said before. He had a spatial magic treasure on him? How was that possible? How could he have a spatial magic treasure on him? Did I mistake these people for someone else? What spatial magic treasure? I didn't. You must have recognized the wrong person, right? Lin Xian said. Hee kid, don't quibble anymore. The news we received is absolutely true. Right at this moment, another voice sounded. Immediately after, a woman walked out. This woman was very beautiful. She was wearing a long blue dress and was slender and elegant. Her skin was like ivory, and nothing could be more beautiful. Beside this woman, there was seawater surging, carrying her. Standing in the void of the universe, she was like an unharmed sea god. I am Zhong Wuqing, 8th on the Abyss rankings. Heavens! These 3 people were all on the Abyss rankings. Moreover, they were all top purple-ranked geniuses. They appeared together and firmly surrounded Lin Xian. Kid, it should be that green-robed man from before. He seemed to have detected something on you, but I think he guessed wrong. He thought you had a spatial magic treasure on you. The Crimson Dragon is easy to traverse in the black soil. Do you need my help? No. Lin Xian also transmitted his voice. You can cultivate in peace. I don't care about these 3 people. It just so happens that I've recently been reborn with desire, and my strength has broken through. Moreover, I've created a few skills. It's good to use them as practice. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a shocking light. He looked at the 3 top powerhouses beside him, and the corner of his mouth raised into a sneer. Oh, the purple ranking on the Abyss rankings. The 3 of you are indeed not bad, but unfortunately you are still no match for me. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the 3 powerhouses around him sank. They were all geniuses, half-step sages. Their strength was unparalleled. Any one of them could wipe out a group of people. If the 3 of them joined forces, they could suppress everything. No one could escape from their hands. And this kid in front of them dared to be so arrogant. How insolent! Another sneer was heard. I didn't care at all when you invited me here, but now I'm a little interested. Kid, what right do you have to be so arrogant in front of us? This time it was an old voice, and an old figure walked out. It was an old man with silver white hair and red eyes. He was not tall, and there was no terrifying energy surrounding him. However, as soon as he appeared, the surrounding void formed a strange arc, as if it was bent by something. Chapter 3284. The Giant Demon Race. The three purple-ranked prodigies were stunned. They didn't expect a senior from the giant demon race to come. The giant demon race. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It seemed that this wasn't a young prodigy, but an elder. He had heard of the giant demon race before. It was a terrifying race, one of the 4 10,000 Archean races. Normally, they were short and could store energy, but once they started fighting, their power was truly terrifying. They were like human-shaped tyrannosauruses. Their physiques were unimaginably strong. You think you can defeat them? Lin Xian wasn't afraid at all. If I'm not wrong, you were invited here by someone, right? Where is that person? Tell him to come out. Are you talking about me? The sky suddenly split open, and a figure descended from the sky. He was like a peerless saber light that instantly appeared in front of everyone. He brought with him a powerful storm, causing the expressions of the 4 top experts to change. But soon, they smiled. They didn't expect that the other party would come personally. This way, there would be no mistakes. Even if this kid was a true dragon, they would be able to suppress him. As expected, it's you? Lin Xian's eyes burst with a cold light as he stared at the figure. The other party was a handsome man with a sinister smile on his face. It was the person who had used his soul to spy on him before. Sure enough, these people were all called by the green-robed man. However, what made Lin Xian frown was that he could sense that although the green-robed man's appearance hadn't changed, his aura was different. This aura was much stronger than before. His soul was very strong, so he could tell at a glance that although the man from before was also a half-saint, it seemed that he had just broken through. His strength was nothing in front of him. However, although the young man in front of him didn't deliberately release his aura, he could sense it. This green-robed man was the strongest among these people. I didn't expect Brother Zhao to come personally. The beautiful woman, Zhong Wuqing, laughed. Kid, kneel down obediently and hand over the spatial treasure. I can spare your life. Otherwise, I'll make a move, and you'll definitely die. Do you know who the man in front of you is? This was Zhao Wuliang, who was ranked 5th on the Abyss leaderboard. Do you think you can contend against him? This was immeasurable. This time, it was Lin Xian's turn to be surprised. He had never imagined that the person before him would have such a background. Zhao Wuliang's ranking was very high. Furthermore, he knew that this ranking should be the ranking of Zhao Wuliang from several decades ago. Zhao Wuliang's true strength should be even higher. But why was it that when he first met the other party's aura was very weak, and he had easily injured the other party with soul collision? Could it be that the other party had been hiding all this while? This made him extremely puzzled. All right, kid, are you going to obediently hand over your magical treasure now? Or are you going to be suppressed by us and suffer a fate worse than death? Zhao Wuliang, who was at the front, put away his smile. A piercingly cold light burst out from his eyes, enveloping the entire area. With just you guys? I'm afraid you don't have the qualifications to be arrogant in front of me. Lin Xian circled the area, not caring at all. He really didn't care. After all, the strongest person here was Zhao Wuliang. But Zhao Wuliang was only ranked 5th. He was ranked 1st on the Abyss leaderboard. Probably only Di Ling could compete with him. As for the others, Lin Xian really didn't put them in his eyes. Not to mention, he had even killed his old enemy, the Great Demon. He was even reborn, and his strength had greatly increased. How could these people be his opponents? On the opposite side, those people also laughed. What an arrogant kid. Well, my strength has increased greatly over the years, and I can use him to practice. Their eyes burst out with a bright light. Buzz. At this moment, someone made a move. It was Gao Chong, who was ranked 13th on the leaderboard. He rushed over in an instant, and the terrifying law fragments all over his body were constantly waving. One of his hands blasted forward. His entire palm rapidly turned black like black gold as it pierced through the clouds. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian didn't retreat at all. He also stretched out his palm and slapped forward. On the other party's fist, there were terrifying law fragments, and in an instant, it turned into metal. Moreover, it was a very terrifying metal. It was obvious that the other party had comprehended the law of metal. Although they were both of the law of metal, the other party's comprehension was different from Lin Xian's. Lin Xian was able to increase his attack power, while his opponent was able to metallize his body, making his physique extremely strong. However, so what if he was strong? Who dared to compete with him in terms of physique? Even the supreme demon body of the great demon was not his opponent. Not to mention, his body was now metallized. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out. The two collided, like two mountains clashing in the sky. A terrifying aura instantly exploded, sweeping in all directions. Amidst the endless cracks in the void, a figure was sent flying out. His entire arm was split open and covered in cracks. It made one's scalp tingle. Damn it! What was going on with his physique? How could it be so strong? The one who flew out was Gao Chong. His face was full of shock, and he couldn't believe it. He had comprehended the law of metal. This punch of his was so powerful that no one could withstand it. He could even compete with the old man from the giant demon clan. But now he had been injured by the other party's punch, and even his arm had been shattered. It was really hard to believe. The others were also shocked, their pupils constricting. But at this time, another person made a move. The one who made a move was the old man from the giant demon clan. When he saw the strength of Lin Xian's physique, his eyes lit up. Obviously, Lin Xian's physique had aroused his interest. He bounced over, instantly smashing through the void, and arrived in front of Lin Xian. The powerful force caused the surrounding space to solidify, forming an invisible cage that enveloped Lin Xian. At the same time, his right leg was like a coiling dragon kicking out. His target was Lin Xian's head. Boom. This kick didn't have any light, only an incomparably heavy force. The void within 1,000,000 miles completely collapsed in an instant, and the aftermath of this energy quickly spread out in all directions. Soon, it spread over millions of miles. This kick was truly terrifying. As expected of a powerhouse from the giant demon clan, this kick could blast a half-saint into pieces. Humph! Lin Xian sneered and still struck out with his palm, golden light shining. It was like a heavenly monument had been blasted out, and an even more terrifying sound rang out, shattering the void within 1,000,000 miles. The other experts also unleashed their law fragments to resist the attack. In the next moment, they were dumbfounded. How was this possible? Chapter 30, 285. They discovered that during the collision, the giant demon clan old man's right leg quickly split open and then exploded into a mist of blood. The giant demon clan elder was also sent flying. How was this possible? How could he be so strong? Gao Chong couldn't believe it. Yan Kuan and Zhong Wuqing were also shocked. Zhao Wuyang's face darkened. He was indeed strong. It seemed that he was a top expert. Don't be careless. There were countless experts in the universe, and many of them weren't even on the rankings. He might be one of them. Show me your full strength. Lin Xian's strength was beyond their expectations. However, they knew that Zhao Wuyang was right. There were countless beings in the universe, and the Abyss rankings couldn't rank them all. There were many hidden experts, and the young man in front of them might be one of them. However, so what if he was strong? The 5 of them could suppress him if they joined forces. Buzz! Yan Kuan roared. Lightning erupted from his body, forming a lightning sun that pressed down from the sky. On the other side, Zhong Wuqing also attacked. With a wave of her jade-like hand, The black seawater that filled the sky came crashing down. Boom, boom, boom. The range of their attacks was very large, and Lin Xian was instantly enveloped. They sneered. Their opponent would definitely be injured if he took their attacks head-on. Although they weren't close combat powerhouses, their mystiques were terrifying. Lin Xian's physique shook under this attack. It shone brightly, but it soon calmed down. Lin Xian roared. His body emitted millions of rays of light that rushed in all directions and destroyed the two attacks. In the next moment, his body appeared in front of everyone. How was this possible? He wasn't injured. What was going on with this small physique? Yan Kuan and Yi Shiwen frowned. Even a formidable semi-sage expert would have been torn to pieces by their attacks. However, the other party was unharmed. Could it be that the other party's body had been shattered, but he had managed to reconstruct it in a short period of time? That shouldn't be. They didn't notice it at all. Or could it be that this kid was wearing an extremely terrifying armor? Moreover, it was hidden too deeply, hidden in his flesh. They couldn't find out. Regardless, they knew that the person before them was much more difficult to deal with than they had imagined. Gao Chong and the old man from the giant demon race rushed forward once more. They split up and surrounded Lin Xian once more. It seems that I can't hold back anymore. Gao Chong formed a seal with his palms, and the fragments of the law of metal instantly danced, enveloping him. In the next moment, his entire body turned into bronze. He didn't look like a human at all, but more like metal. The bronze was surrounded by mysterious patterns, which was abnormally strange. Whoosh. Not only that, but the bronze metal in his right hand flowed and condensed into a bronze spear. In his left hand, there was a bronze shield. The old man from the giant demon clan roared. His originally small body suddenly grew larger, and black stripes appeared on his body. In an instant, he transformed into a monstrous fiend. This was the true appearance of a giant demon. Are you all using your full strength? Then I'm going to use mine too. With a furious roar, Yan Kuan's body was surrounded by lightning, forming a battle armor. Lightning wings formed behind him, and a terrifying sea of lightning formed beneath his feet. Zhong Wuqing also shouted. The seawater behind her surged, and the terrifying law of water danced between heaven and earth. Behind her, the 3,000-week water turned into 3,000 phantoms. Kill. This time, the four of them charged forward once more. Gao Chong's figure swayed in the air, scattering countless golden runes. He instantly arrived in front of Lin Xian, and the bronze spear in his hand pierced forward. The law of metal filled the sky like a tsunami, surging forward to kill. Lin Xian reached out with his golden hand, grabbing the bronze spear and swinging it forcefully. With a clang, the bronze spear was broken in half. Gao Chong retreated, and at the same time, the old man from the giant demon clan charged over. His body had become extremely terrifying. He punched out, and it was as if a million mountains were falling. A large black palm pressed towards the void. Suddenly, the space where Lin Xian was rapidly shattered, turning into countless large black holes. Lin Xian's body swayed again, and light flickered on it. Obviously, the old man from the giant demon clan was very terrifying. However, Lin Xian's physique was far beyond their imagination. The 9 Yang divine body only swayed for a moment, and then it was as stable as Mount Tai. However, before Lin Xian could counterattack, the other 2 divine abilities attacked again. The 3,000-week water. 3,000 waves rushed over, bringing with them terrifying fragments of the law of water. Like 3,000 black pythons, they quickly coiled around Lin Xian and bound him. It wanted to crush his body into pieces. This power was extremely terrifying, and it was all-pervasive. At the same time, the law of thunder fell from the sky. It turned into thousands of lightning whips, and with a light wave, the starry sky outside the realm collapsed, and the earth cracked. These 4 people were all top half-sages, and they were extremely terrifying. At this moment, the 4 of them attacked, and it was really destroying everything. However, Lin Xian's body bloomed with light, and like a golden god of war, he stepped on the 8 wastelands and suppressed a part of the world. These energies circulated around his body, but they couldn't hurt him at all. Explode. No one knew who shouted coldly, but the energy around Lin Xian instantly exploded, and a black hole swallowed him. This time, he should be dead. The 4 people sneered and stared at the black hole in front of them, but soon the black hole was broken by a punch and a golden figure rushed out. It was Lin Xian. You're just so. However, if you want my life, then go to hell. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a piercing cold light. Previously, he wanted to see how terrifying these experts on the Abyss list were. Now it seemed that they were just SOSO. Now, these people were no match for him at all. I've seen your divine abilities, and now you'll also see my divine abilities. There was a terrifying power circulating around Lin Xian's body. How was it possible that he wasn't injured? The 4 people were dumbfounded when they saw Lin Xian rush out of the black hole. Damn it! Their faces were gloomy, but in the next moment, they screamed, because they found that countless law of fire danced on Lin Xian's palm, forming a lotus. The flaming lotus continued to burn and expand, carrying with it a destructive power. It was as if it could destroy the world. Now, take my self-created divine ability, Annihilation Flame Lotus. With a wave of his hand, the Annihilation Flame Lotus flew out and instantly enveloped Gao Chong and the old man from the giant demon clan. No, damn it. The 2 of them roared, crazily. One of them was surrounded by a green light and completely turned into metal. The other old man from the giant demon clan took out a white giant hammer and waved it. He wanted to destroy the Annihilation Flame Lotus. Chapter 30, 286. Boom. The Annihilation Fire Lotus enveloped the 2 of them and erupted with unparalleled power. Everything in front of them was annihilated. When the Fire Lotus disappeared, Yan Kuan and Zhong Wuqing were stunned. They were so frightened that their bodies trembled and their scalps split open. Because Gao Chong and the giant demon race old man had disappeared, only blood floated down from the sky. The 2 of them had died without leaving behind a corpse. How was this possible? Gao Chong was an expert ranked 13th on the rankings. The law of metal made his body exceptionally strong after turning it into metal. The giant demon race old man was the same. In fact, he was even more terrifying than Gao Chong. The 2 of them were extremely terrifying physique experts among half-sages. But now, the 2 of them had been turned into ashes, their bodies and souls destroyed. Who was this kid? What on earth was that flame lotus just now? Was it a self-created ability? What a joke. They didn't believe that a young man could create such a terrifying ability. Brother Zhao, we don't care about this matter anymore. We don't want the reward you gave us. Yan Kuan and Zhong Wuqing hurriedly turned around and fled. It was too terrifying. If that Annihilation Fire Lotus had flown towards them, they probably wouldn't have been able to block it. Originally, Zhao Wuliang had found them and offered them extremely high rewards to lure them into action. In their opinion, with so many experts attacking together, they would even dare to fight a saint. But now, they discovered that they had been too naive. They had met this person who was extremely terrifying and unfathomable. He could kill an expert on the Abyss rankings with a raise of his hand. They absolutely couldn't provoke such a person. The 2 of them were both peak half-sages and were extremely powerful. In an instant, they were 1,000,000 miles away. Facing the 2 fleeing people, Lin Xian didn't chase after them. His eyes flickered with golden light as he stared at the two figures 1,000,000 miles away. In the next moment, he clasped his fingers and gently flicked them. The black nomological law fragment quickly fused into the void and disappeared. 1,000,000 miles away, the two of them let out a sigh of relief. In an instant, they could be 2,000,000 miles away and completely leave this place. Then they would leave and no longer care about this matter. But in the next moment, before they could move, they were so frightened that their bodies went numb. An extremely terrifying force surged towards them. Not good. Their expressions changed. Even though they were millions of miles away, the other party was still able to attack them with such precision. This truly surprised them. However, the two of them would not sit still and wait for death. Yen Kuan opened his mouth and spat out a terrifying bolt of thunder. Endless fragments of the thunder laws wove together, forming a thunder Tao diagram that revolved around him. Zhong Wuqing was even more powerful. She was ranked 8th on the Abyss rankings. At this moment, with a wave of her hands, she actually summoned the first heaven water. This was an extremely terrifying type of water, incomparably thick and heavy. It was rumored that the first heaven heavy water could crush a half-saint to death. At this moment, she summoned it to block in front of her, blocking that terrible attack. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief after summoning their strongest defensive measures. However, in the next moment, their hair stood on end. They wanted to escape, but they couldn't. They saw the lightning Tao diagram in front of them, as well as the first heaven water, rapidly disappearing and melting. In the blink of an eye, they were gone. Not only that, but their bodies were also gradually disintegrating, as if they were about to be annihilated. No, the two of them screamed and resisted crazily, but they couldn't block this annihilation power at all. In the next moment, their minds were destroyed, and they didn't even have time to scream. Dead. 2 experts on the Abyss rankings had died again. Now, 3 top experts on the Abyss rankings, plus an expert from the Giant Demon Clan, were all killed. This was really too inconceivable. In the distance, Zhao Wuliang looked at this scene and sucked in a breath of cold air. The other party actually had such a method. Who was this person? He realized that he seemed to have made a wrong decision by coming to find the other party. He wanted to leave, but he knew that he couldn't leave because he was locked onto by the other party's gaze. Stop. If you have something to say, let's talk nicely. I'm ranked 5th. If you want to kill me, you'll have to pay a great price. Maybe we'll all die together. Why don't we shake hands and make peace? I know the whereabouts of the Void Treasure, and we'll join forces to search for it. How about it? If there were other people here, they would definitely be stunned, because Zhao Wuliang actually admitted defeat. This was really too inconceivable. This was Zhao Wuliang, the 5th existence on the Abyss rankings, but at this moment, in front of Lin Xian, he had no choice but to bow his head. No need, since you dared to come to kill me, and you even joined forces with so many experts. Do you think I'll let you go? You're courting death. Zhao Wuliang was angry. Who dared to not give him face? He raised his hand, and a ray of light shot out. However, his body flew into the distance. There was no other way. Lin Xian's methods were too terrifying. With a raise of his hand, for top half-saints were killed just like that. He didn't dare to fight such a person head-on. Lin Xian blasted the saber light away with a punch. He looked ahead at the figure that had escaped into the darkness, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. I said, "You can't escape." In an instant, he flicked his finger. And immediately the power of annihilation flew out again. The void in front of him quickly collapsed. Zhao Wuliang screamed, crazily. He shot out a shocking saber light, but he still couldn't stop the power of annihilation. Buzz. All of a sudden, He stopped where he was. A ray of white light merged into the void and disappeared. Pucci, the body of the green-robed man. He turned into ashes in the air. During the process, a scream was heard. It was very painful, but it only lasted for a moment. There was no trace of him. Zhao Wuliang was also killed. The 5 top half-saints who came to kill Lin Xian were all killed here. This was really too shocking. One had to know that this wasn't a life-and-death battle, but a one-sided massacre. After Lin Xian was reborn and created his own divine ability, his strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. The current half-saints were no match for him at all. Perhaps only a sage would be able to contend against him. However, Lin Xian frowned and seemed to be a little puzzled. Golden light flickered in his eyes, and soon the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. So that's how it is. You actually have 2 souls. Although I don't know what's going on. Come out! He waved his hand. In front of him, in the dark void, a scream was heard, and it quickly flew away. The original darkness was shrouded in endless flames, burning fiercely. Then, a white hazy figure appeared and floated in the void. Its eyes were cold. Damn it! How did you find out? He looked very similar to the green-robed man, but his eyes were more terrifying. Obviously, this wasn't the green-robed man from before. Who are you? Why are you hiding in that body? Lin Xian asked. Chapter 3287. The glowing figure snorted coldly. I'm the real Zhao Wuliang. Is that so? I'm afraid this isn't your true body either. You actually dared to send a clone to kill me. You really don't know what's good for you. Lin Xian instantly understood. At their level, it wasn't difficult for them to create an energy body and insert their soul into it to form a clone. Lin Xian could create multiple doppelgangers, but such doppelgangers were created from his own energy and soul. If they were killed, it would cause considerable damage to his main body. Therefore, after using the doppelgangers, he would usually retrieve his soul and the doppelganger's energy form. It looks like your true body can't move. What will happen if I kill your clone? Lin Xian sneered. Damn it! You dare to kill my clone? Zhao Wuliang roared crazily. If his clone was destroyed, his body would definitely be injured. It would be dangerous for him to participate in the Vermilion Bird List competition. Kid, I didn't want to attack you at first, but you forced me to. In front of him, the white glowing figure quickly formed a seal. A piercing light burst out from its eyes, forming a strange pattern. Then, the space in front of him was instantly torn open. Lin Xian was also sent flying. With a clang, his body swayed, and a crack appeared on it. This is saber technique. He was surprised. He quickly suppressed the surging blood in his body, and the crack on his body also healed. He was surprised that his opponent's eye technique attack was so powerful. It was really rare. One had to know that ordinary eye techniques attack the soul. For example, he had mastered many kinds of eye techniques. He could burn the soul, control the soul, and even cast illusions on the soul. However, it was rare to see an eye technique that directly attacked the true body, especially one that was so powerful. His opponent's eye technique was very strange. He didn't die. Zhao Wuliang was surprised. His face was cold. Damn it, he was only slightly injured. He found it hard to believe. His eye technique was very famous. It was called the Heavenly Saber Divine Eye. The saber light he emitted was too piercing. No half-saint could block it. He had even used his eye technique to cut open a half-saint weapon. Originally, he thought that he would be able to slash the other party's body in half if he used his eye technique unexpectedly. If he was lucky, he might even be able to kill his opponent. But who would have thought that even though the other party was pushed back, cracks would also appear on his body? However, that was all. With a slight sway of his body, he recovered to his original state. From the looks of it, he was not seriously injured at all. What a strange ocular technique. Lin Xian flew over and said coldly, "However, even if your real body was here, you might not be able to hurt me, let alone a mere clone. Damn it, you dare to destroy my clone? My main body will definitely not let you off." The white silhouette in front of him roared crazily, "If your true body dares to come here, I'll kill you as well." A fiery red lotus appeared in Lin Xian's hand and flew forward. Zhao Wuyang's clone frantically counterattacked. However, the power of the destruction lotus was something he could not block at all. Thus, in an instant, the clone vanished into thin air. Lin Xian didn't care about Zhao Wuyang's original body at all. "Let's go!" With a wave of his hand, 5 storage rings flew over from the sky. They were the storage rings of the 5 half-saints from before. Lin Xian's soul entered them, and a smile appeared on his face. It looked like his harvest was not bad. At the very least, he had earned back all the divine crystals he had lost from collecting information. Furthermore, he had earned a bit more. It was time to go to planet Suzaku. Lin Xian entered the spirit boat and quickly flew out the shield. 2.5 months later, they arrived at planet Suzaku. At this moment, planet Suzaku was very lively. After the news of the Suzaku ranking competition came out, countless powerful cultivators and geniuses rushed over. After all, everyone wanted to become famous and gain the support of a powerful force. For example, Yen Nantian was so famous that he could gain the support of the Suzaku Palace. And if someone else rose up during the Suzaku ranking competition, then they would definitely gain the support of other top forces. If that happened, there would be an endless supply of cultivation resources in the future. Lin Xian's spirit boat landed on the ground and found that there were also many spirit boats flying by. Each of them carried a powerful aura. Wow, there are actually so many people. The Crimson Dragon was shocked. Lin Xian also looked around. There were indeed a lot of people, but he didn't care. Aside from a few people who could threaten him, the others couldn't even withstand a single blow. "Kid, let's keep a low profile later. After all, this Yen Nantian is in cahoots with the Suzaku Palace, and the Suzaku Palace is the overlord of this planet. If we are discovered, Yen Nantian will secretly mobilize the Suzaku Palace's powerful cultivators to kill us before the competition even starts. Then the situation won't be good. Okay, I'll try to keep a low profile." Lin Xian nodded, but a hint of killing intent appeared in his eyes. The Crimson Dragon sighed. However, he knew that Lin Xian's strength had increased greatly. Even a sage might not be able to suppress him. However, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he still changed his form. He was no longer in his dragon form. Instead, he transformed into a man wearing a black robe. After the Crimson Dragon transformed into his human form, he was extremely handsome and elegant. However, there was a hint of arrogance in his smile. Come, kid, take a look at Benwang's human form. What do you think? Isn't he handsome? Would he be able to charm those girls to death?" Lin Xian. After leaving the atmosphere, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon left the spirit boat and looked around. "Let's find a city to land in first." The two of them chose a direction and quickly flew away. "Yeah, let's go in that direction." Along the way, the little white monkey pointed to the left. "Okay, let's go there." Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon changed directions. After flying for about 4 hours, they saw a huge city appear in front of them. Their luck was not bad. The two of them flew toward the huge city, Sunset City. Looking at this city, it should be one of the main cities of planet Suzaku. After entering, they learned that it was indeed one of the 12 main cities of planet Suzaku. It was very lively inside, and there was an endless stream of powerful cultivators. It was obvious that these people had all come from other worlds and landed here. Suddenly, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The Crimson Dragon also looked up at the sky. Someone was coming. Sure enough, everyone else also looked up at the sky. They felt a huge pressure bearing down on them from the sky. There was no doubt that it was an extremely powerful cultivator. Whoosh! A few figures descended from the sky. However, these figures were quickly taken away. Their powerful auras still lingered in the air. Who were those figures just now? He couldn't see them clearly. There was probably something on them that was covering their auras. Sounds of discussion could be heard. The Vermilion Bird Proclamation had attracted countless powerful cultivators this time. Of course, they couldn't enter the abyss for the time being. The only way for others to become famous was through the Vermilion Bird Proclamation. I wonder who will be coming this time. Who would take first place in the Vermilion Bird Proclamation? Chapter 3288. It had to be Yen Nantian. He was like the sun in the sky, and he was the successor of a great emperor. More importantly, he had joined the Vermilion Bird Palace. It was said that the Vermilion Bird list was created for him. Indeed, Yen Nantian was very powerful, and there was probably no one who could compete with him. How terrifying was the successor of a great emperor? Unless another successor of a great emperor or a prince came, right? Not necessarily. Someone refuted that. I think if the successor of the 9 sons and the great demon came, they would definitely be able to compete with him. As soon as this was said, the surrounding warriors nodded. Indeed, the news of the great demon and the successor of the 9 sons had spread throughout the starry sky. Many people knew about it, and they had even seen the images recorded by the array formation. However, some people shook their heads. It was useless. The 2 of them had died together and would never appear again. Yes, the dead were not qualified to compete with Yen Nantian, but the living were still a few who could threaten Yen Nantian. Yes, the first on the Abyss list definitely had the strength. There was also Long Zhaotian and Zhao Wuliang. They were very terrifying. You seem to have forgotten someone. Yen Ryu, that peerless beauty. Her name was only above Zhao Wuliang's. Everyone was discussing, and the names on the list appeared one after another. At this moment, someone said, "If that's the case, then you've missed out on one person." That was Lin Wudi, the first on the list, who was on par with Di Ling. Lin Wudi was indeed very strong. He was actually ranked first on the list. He was a character. However, recently, Yen Nantian, Zhao Wuliang, and the other strength had increased by leaps and bounds. They should be better than Lin Wudi. They were all talking about the top 5 on the Abyss list, because these people were the most promising to compete with Yen Nantian, and most of them were candidates for the first place on the Vermilion Bird list. However, someone said, "Don't be too careless." As far as I know, many hidden experts have appeared this time. There are even rumors of saint-level experts. What? Saint-level experts? As soon as this was said, the surrounding people were stunned. What kind of concept was that? A saint-level expert had come to participate in the Vermilion Bird list? The people they had been talking about, whether it was Yen Nantian, Di Ling, or Zhao Wuliang, they were all half saint-level experts. Of course, I've only heard about it. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if there will be any saints, but I heard that there might be a few new top geniuses who will be born soon. Among them, there seemed to be a few geniuses from the Vermilion Bird Palace. They hadn't stood out before, nor had they participated in the Abyss rankings, but their talent and strength were abnormally strong. This time, he might be able to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat and defeat those veteran experts. Everyone was discussing this. Without exception, it was clear that the competition for the Vermilion Bird leaderboard was even more intense than the Abyss leaderboard. There were actually so many experts here. It seemed like there was no hope this time. Many people sighed. Initially, they had thought that the battle this time might not be that famous, and that not many people would come. Other than Yen Nantian, they might be able to take advantage of the other rankings. But now, it seemed that they had been too naive. The influence of the Vermilion Bird leaderboard had far exceeded their expectations. It had actually attracted so many experts, and it was even rumored that saints were about to descend. These people could only be bystanders. But no matter what, they had to give it a try. After Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon heard this, their eyes flashed. Suddenly, Lin Xian frowned, and a piercing cold light burst out from his eyes. He saw a person looking at them from a few streets not far from him. He was dumbfounded, as if he couldn't believe it. That person was wearing a red robe with 2 patterns embroidered on it. It was very strange. When he saw Lin Xian's gaze, his body trembled, and he withdrew his gaze, turned around, and disappeared into the void. What's going on? Seeing Lin Xian's expression, the Crimson Dragon asked, "Wait, what's wrong?" "I saw a very strange person, so I'll go take a look." After saying this, his body flickered, and he also disappeared. While the others were still discussing which experts had arrived, a figure quickly shuttled back and forth. He was sweating profusely. This man was wearing a red robe. He was from the Vermilion Bird Palace. At this moment, he was extremely frightened because he saw someone who shouldn't have appeared. How could the successor of the 9 sons still be alive? This person had seen Lin Xian before because he had seen Lin Xian's portrait from Yen Nantian. At that time, he was only curious about the true appearance of the successor of the 9 sons who could compete with the great demon. Therefore, he saw Lin Xian's portrait. But today, he saw a person who looked exactly like the successor of the 9 sons. This made him extremely frightened. Could it be that the successor of the 9 sons wasn't dead? No, this news had to be spread. He had to inform the Vermilion Bird Palace and Yen Nantian. They had to be on guard or even take action in advance. There was no choice. The successor of the 9 sons was too terrifying. Even the great demon was no match for him. Now that he was alive, he was a huge threat to Yen Nantian. "Where do you think you're going?" At this moment, a cold voice came from behind him. Immediately after, the Vermilion Bird Palace warrior's body trembled as he turned around. He was scared out of his wits. "Damn it, it's you." "You're the successor of the 9 sons. You're not dead?" He was extremely shocked. "It looks like you really do recognize me. In that case, I can't let you live. If I'm not wrong, you should know Yen Nantian." "That's right. Not only do I know Yen Nantian, but I'm also from the Vermilion Bird Palace. This is our territory. Hurry up and let me go. Otherwise, if you anger me, the Vermilion Bird Palace will destroy your body and soul. You still dare to threaten me. It looks like you really don't know what's good for you. Since you're Yen Nantian's man, then die." Lin Xian's eyes erupted with a cold light. "Courting death, you dare to attack me?" The Vermilion Bird Palace warrior's expression changed. He roared crazily. "Men, the successor of the 9 sons is here." His voice was like thunder, resounding in all directions. However, Lin Xian sneered. "Don't waste your energy. I've already set up an array. Even if you scream yourself hoarse, the people outside won't know. Damn it, I'll fight it out with you." The Vermilion Bird Palace warrior roared crazily. A flaming saber appeared in his hand. The fragments of the law of fire on it burned fiercely. He was also a half-saint. The saber slashed down like a vermilion bird pouncing over. Buzz. Lin Xian pointed forward, and a wisp of sword chi flew out. The next moment, he retracted his hand and stood with his hands behind his back. How was that possible? The Vermilion Bird Palace man froze in midair, his eyes wide in disbelief. Chapter 3289. He discovered that his life force had been extinguished. His body was turning into nothingness. The other party had killed him with one move. Was this the successor of the 9 sons? How could he be so terrifying? He wanted to struggle, but in an instant he disappeared. His body and soul had been destroyed. It seemed that this was a little troublesome. Lin Xian frowned. He didn't expect someone to recognize him. The other party was right. After all, this was Planet Suzaku. He didn't want to attract the attention of a few sages before the competition. If it was a normal ranking, he would just cause a ruckus here and leave. But he couldn't do that now. He had an agreement with Planet Langya, and first place on the Vermilion Bird list was very important to him. He had to get the Earth Dao stone. The next moment, Lin Xian waved his hand, and a hazy light appeared on his body. His face was especially mysterious. It blocked all vision, and even the soul couldn't see through it. This way, no one should be able to discover him, right? At least he was safe before the competition. After doing all this, he returned to the Crimson Dragon. The Crimson Dragon was shocked at first. Who was this person? When his soul reached out, he realized that he couldn't see the other party's face. Lin Xian said, "It's me, kid, it's you. What's going on? One of Yan Nanshan's subordinates discovered me, but I've already killed him. Damn it. Has Yan Nanshan's faction become so powerful? Even the people of the Vermilion Bird Palace can work for him." It seemed that the other party didn't just join the Vermilion Bird Palace. There was no need to pay attention to him. When it was time for the competition, he would just kill him. Lin Xian didn't care too much. Let's go find a place to stay. They waited for the Vermilion Bird list to begin. The two of them left. They found a place to stay. Originally, the place was overcrowded, and there wasn't even a place to stay. However, Lin Xian had just killed 5 peak half-sages, so he had a lot of resources in his storage ring. It could be said that he was filthy rich. He directly used resources to forcefully build a courtyard. After entering, the Crimson Dragon set up a formation. Lin Xian also looked around. Not bad, the environment here is good. There are spirit gathering formations around, and there are spirit veins underground. It is indeed a good place to live temporarily. The two of them rested for a while. When night fell, they prepared to go out and eat something. At their level of cultivation, eating and drinking were no longer important. However, there were still many half-saints, and even saints who needed to eat. They were not there to eat, but to taste the delicious food. The Crimson Dragon was even more so. He was drooling. On the way here, he had heard that someone had hunted a heaven and earth variant. He wondered how delicious it would be. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were walking out, surrounded by a few young experts who were extremely excited. They were discussing nonstop. Hurry up and go to the Sunset Pavilion. They had heard that the people from the Sky Qin Palace were here, and that they were going to play the zither today. They had to listen to the peerless celestial music. They definitely couldn't miss it. Yes, they didn't know who was so generous to be able to invite the people from the Sky Qin Palace. If it was one of those geniuses, then it would be even better. It was rumored that their zither music contained the Tao of heaven and earth. After listening to it, it would be very beneficial to one's cultivation and comprehension of heaven and earth. As they spoke, they turned into streaks of light and shot forward at high speed. Sunset Pavilion? Sky Qin Palace? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The Crimson Dragon beside him was also surprised. It was actually that sect. They had come too. Oh, you know? The Crimson Dragon nodded. The Sky Qin Palace was very famous, probably not any worse than the Vermilion Bird Palace. However, the Sky Qin Palace was not on planet Vermilion Bird. It was on another world. Their sect's weapon was the zither, and their spells were all related to the zither. Let's go and take a look. Perhaps there will be some unexpected gains. The Crimson Dragon was also a little excited. Lin Xian nodded. The two of them also walked toward the Sunset Pavilion. At this moment, the Sunset Pavilion could be said to be very lively. It was packed with people, and these were not ordinary people. They were all very powerful cultivators. There were even some half-sages here. However, none of them entered the Sunset Pavilion. The reason for that was because the fee to enter the Sunset Pavilion was extremely high. Even a normal half-sage would feel the pinch. Damn it, the Sunset Pavilion was actually taking advantage of the situation. Many people in the crowd were gnashing their teeth. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon walked to the front, their eyes shining. There were also many people inside. It was obvious that they were all even more terrifying existences. Lin Xian didn't care about the huge entrance fee. He took out the corresponding amount from the storage rings of the Vermilion Bird Palace cultivators he had killed, and then he walked in with the Crimson Dragon. There were indeed many people inside, and all of them had outstanding talents and powerful auras. It was obvious that they were all experts. There were already many people sitting at the front. The Sunset Pavilion standards were very high. Everyone present was someone of status, and no one was willing to squeeze with others. Thus, everyone was seated in a certain area. It was truly a carefree and joyous atmosphere. There were only 2 seats left. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon walked directly to them. The 2 of them had just sat down when they heard a cold voice. This place is already occupied. Get lost. As soon as the voice came out, countless gazes turned to Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. Lin Xian's face was flickering, and his expression couldn't be seen clearly. However, the Crimson Dragon beside him was furious. Someone actually told them to get lost. Did they have a death wish? Who is making such a big fuss here? Get over here. The Crimson Dragon also snorted coldly. As soon as the voice came out, many people became interested. Their eyes were filled with schadenfreude. They actually dared to go against Brother Yun. They really had a death wish. Who were these 2 people? Did they have a powerful background? They didn't recognize them. They looked very unfamiliar. However, if they could come here, they must have some status. So what if they had status? They would definitely end up in a miserable state. Sounds of discussion could be heard. Sure enough, as soon as the Crimson Dragon's voice fell, a figure walked over. It was a tall man wearing a cloud robe. His face was cold, and at this moment his eyes were emitting a biting cold, killing intent as he stared at the Crimson Dragon. You were the one who dared to scold me just now? Damn, you dare to provoke Ben Huang? The Crimson Dragon was about to go berserk, but was held down by Lin Xian. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the other party. We paid to enter this place, so naturally we can sit here. I don't want to kill you. Hurry up and disappear from my sight. Although Lin Xian wasn't angry, his words seemed to be even more arrogant. The surrounding people began to discuss. Damn, this kid is even more arrogant. Who is he? He doesn't want to kill. Heavens, he still wants to kill the other party? I think this kid's mind will be destroyed. No one has ever dared to threaten me. Kid, don't force me to kill you. At this moment, another person walked out from behind the cloud-robed youth. He looked at Lin Xian and sneered. Ignorant kid, you don't know what death is? Do you know what kind of status our Brother Yun has? Chapter 3290. Brother Yun's elder brother is a peerless prodigy known as Guijian. Brother Yun's uncle is Cloud Sky Saint. Can you afford to offend him? Cloud Sky Saint. Lin Xian was stunned. It seemed that the other party's background was not simple. But so what? The Crimson Dragon beside him also sneered. What Guijian? Never heard of him. You really don't know what's good for you. You haven't even heard of Guijian? Let me tell you, Guijian Yun Tianchao is the favorite to win the championship this time. Do you know that? Now that you dare to provoke Guijian's younger brother, hurry up and kneel down, kowtow, and admit your mistakes. As the voice sounded, the atmosphere in the entire space froze. Everyone was sneering. They knew that Lin Xian and Yun Tianchao were dead meat. However, Lin Xian raised his head, and the corners of his mouth curled into a disdainful smile. So it was a fox pretending to be a tiger. After saying so much, it's just that your elder brother and uncle are powerful. You should be a piece of trash. If you want to find trouble with me, at least get your elder brother and uncle here, right? You don't have the right. Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. You're courting death. In front, the tall man was enraged. No one had ever dared to provoke him like this. He raised his hand, and a terrifying aura surged from his body. However, in the next moment, he flew out with a bang. Lin Xian slowly retracted his palm. I hate it when people threaten me. Boom. The tall youth flew out. He shattered the void, and a thunderous sound was heard. The surrounding elite cultivators were all dumbfounded. Someone actually dared to attack Yunhe. Did he want to die? The Crimson Dragon laughed loudly. Kid, you're so satisfying. I've long wanted to attack you. Yunhe was sent flying by Lin Xian's palm. He shattered the void, and the blood in his body roiled. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his entire face was terrifyingly black. He attacked. The other party actually dared to attack him. No one had ever dared to attack him. One had to know that once his elder brother and uncle's names were out, even the top prodigies did not dare to attack him. Even Yan Nantian did not dare to attack him, but the other party dared to attack him? He wanted the other party to die. He wanted Feng's soul to be destroyed. Kill. With a roar, Yunhe rushed over. He struck out with his palm with terrifying power. Mysterious cloud patterns appeared between his fingers. Clearly, this was the law of clouds. Lin Xian wasn't afraid as he stared at the terrifying white cloud hand. He waited until the hand was right in front of him before he shot out a flame. The fire burned, igniting the white cloud palm. Ah! Yunhe screamed. His body was on fire, and white smoke rose from his body. The pain drove him crazy. Damn it, he was really mad. He could not believe that the other party's comprehension of laws was actually above his. Just as he screamed, in the next moment, he fell to the ground, trembling uncontrollably. That was because the overflowing flames had turned into a fire dragon spiraling around him. Like a coiling dragon, it suppressed the other party to the ground. Ah, damn it, I'm going to kill you. Yunhe screamed as if he had gone mad. A terrifying power rushed out of his body. A large azure banner flew out of his eyes. It fluttered in the wind and turned into a storm, entangling the coiling dragon phantom. Whoosh! He rushed out. A silver sword appeared in his hand, and he stabbed forward. Both of them were half-sane artifacts. The biting cold sword Qi stabbed forward and instantly arrived in front of Lin Xian. But in the next moment, he was sent flying again. Lin Xian stretched out a large golden hand and slapped forward. It was like a golden mountain, and it instantly turned the other party's arm into a bloody mist. The half-saint artifact sword fell to the ground, and Yunhe vomited blood as he flew backward. Hum! Lin Xian pointed again, and the terrifying law of water surged out, turning into a monstrous wave that surged in front of him. Boom, 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 boom. The seawater hit Yunhe's body, smashing his body. Yunhe's body was like a broken piece of porcelain covered in cracks. In the end, he was pressed to the ground by the wave, unable to resist at all. The surrounding people gasped, and their faces were full of shock. Yunhe was actually suppressed, and he was easily beaten. This was simply too inconceivable. Some of the people who knew Yunhe were even more shocked. They knew that Yunhe was arrogant, but Yunhe was not weak. His opponent was a half-saint and a genius. It was just that he was overshadowed by his uncle and brother. But if anyone underestimated Yunhe because of this, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. or even lose their lives. But such a genius expert was actually beaten up. Who was this person in front of them? Why was his strength so terrifying? For a moment, the air was terrifyingly quiet. Damn it, how dare you attack Brother Yun? The few people who came with Yun, he were all so furious. Two of them attacked wildly, attacking Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian pressed him to the ground with a slap. Their bodies were torn apart, and blood splattered everywhere. The terrifying smell of blood made one's scalp feel like it was about to explode. Lin Xian's gaze swept in all directions with a trace of terrifying coldness. The others did not dare to act rashly. After suppressing the three people, Lin Xian withdrew his hand. He slowly walked to the side, sat down, and poured himself a glass of spirit wine. He raised the wine glass and looked at Yun He, who was being suppressed by the monstrous sea, with a faint smile. "Do you think I'm qualified?" There was a trace of mockery in his voice. Yun He was so angry that his body was trembling. Damn it, not only did he beat him up and suppress him, he even dared to mock him. This was a slap in the face. The people around him were all heaven stage experts. If he could not fight back, how could he survive in the future? "Damn brat, I'm going to kill you. I must kill you." Yunhi screamed like a madman, and his killing intent soared to the sky. But he could not rush out at all. Lin Xian sneered. "You? Kill him for me. Tear him into pieces." Yunhi roared. Boom. As the voice fell, the ground sank, and then a figure walked over. It was a burly man with a ferocious gait. His physique was strong to the extreme. The moment he appeared, the surrounding void shattered rapidly, unable to withstand a single blow. It was obvious that Do was Yunhe's guard, and his strength was probably stronger than Yunhe's. Do usually protected Yunhe, but at this moment, his master was being suppressed here. He had wanted to take action for a long time, and now that he received Yunhe's order, he no longer had any scruples. A large bronze hand stretched out and covered the sky. In an instant, it was above Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon trying to catch them. But his main target was still Lin Xian. "You want to compete with me in close combat?" Lin Xian had a strange look on his face. The Crimson Dragon beside him also sneered. He shook his head, knowing that Do would end up badly. In the next moment, he raised his fist and punched forward. Boom. Their palms collided, and cracks spread out in the void. But the Sunset Pavilion was not an ordinary place. Immediately, the array was activated and enveloped everything. Other arrays were activated, and the violent energy generated by the two was directed outside. Chapter 3291. The entire Sunset Pavilion was shaking. A violent force swept across the world, rushed out of the pavilion, and flew into the sky. Those who were still waiting outside and trying to go in all trembled. A trace of fear appeared in their eyes. What a violent aura! Many people's faces turned pale. At the same time, they were shocked. What was going on? Could it be that there was a fight inside? Oh my God, what happened? They reached out their souls crazily, trying to find out. Inside the Sunset Pavilion, it was terrifyingly quiet. Only the sound of blood dripping could be heard. Ada, the terrifying strength-type half-saint, had his palm split open, and his body trembled. Many cracks appeared on his palm. He kept retreating with a face full of shock. He had just exchanged a blow with his opponent. In his opinion, his opponent was strong, but his strength was definitely not as strong as his. He might be able to suppress his opponent with his strength, but the outcome was beyond his expectations. With a single punch, he was defeated. His opponent surpassed him in both strength and physique. He was no match for him at all. The surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air. Just who was this kid? They did not know. They could not see his face clearly, They were blocked by the hazy light. Countless people's eyes lit up. They wanted to see through Lin Xian's real face. However, they could not do it at all. On the other side, Yunhe, who was suppressed by the sea, saw this scene, and his pupils constricted. How could it be? Even Ada was no match for him? Lin Xian withdrew his palm. He nodded slightly at Ada. He had to admit that Ada's strength was not bad since he could take his punch without turning into a bloody mist. But compared to him, the gap between them was like heaven and earth. What other tricks do you have? Show them all. Lin Xian picked up the wine cup again and swirled the spirit wine inside. Damn kid, don't be so arrogant. If my brother, Gui Yunjian, was here, you would not dare to be so presumptuous. Yunhe gritted his teeth. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? It seems that I haven't taught you a lesson yet. How about this? I'll suppress you for 100 years and then teach you a good lesson. Lin Xian's voice was so cold that it made everyone's scalp tingle. Yunhe was so angry that he vomited blood. His opponent's tone was too arrogant. He treated him like a slave. Wang. But at this moment, the sound of a zither rang out, causing everyone to calm down. Even the killing intent and bloody light that filled the sky disappeared. It was as if a pair of gentle hands had come and soothed their hearts. What a strange sound. Lin Xian was also stunned and turned to look. In front of him, a beautiful figure in white walked over. She held a guqin and gently played it. His fingers, which were as smooth as white jade, moved across the zither strings. Immediately, a pleasant sound was heard. At the same time, a clear voice sounded. The Vermilion Bird Tournament is about to begin. Right now, the most important thing for the young masters to do is to relax and not fight. They were from the Sky Qin Palace. Many people cried out in surprise, revealing a trace of ecstasy on their faces. They had come this time to listen to the celestial music played by the prodigies of the Sky Qin Palace. Lin Xian also squinted his eyes. Indeed, the Sky Qin Palace had some tricks up their sleeves. This music contained a mysterious power. All right, since the fairy had said so, then he would spare his life. Lin Xian waved his hand and swept Ada and Yunhe, who was lying on the ground, out. The strong wind swept the two of them out of the sunset pavilion. The people outside were still using their souls to investigate. Suddenly, they cried out in surprise. They saw two figures fly out from inside, shattering the void and landing on the ground. Many large cracks appeared in the surrounding space, causing many people to frantically retreat. Who was this? They were puzzled. A few half-saints among them cried out in surprise. Oh heavens, it was young Master Yun. Young Master Yun? Which young Master Yun? The others were puzzled. Someone screamed. Of course it was Yunhe. Young Master Yun. What? It was him. You mean that young Master Yun, whose brother was the Cloud Sword and whose uncle was a saint? That's right. It was him. Many people cried out in surprise. After hearing this, the others gasped. They could not believe that such a terrifying young Master Yun had been beaten out. Oh heavens! Who was the one fighting inside? A peerless genius? However, even a peerless genius would not easily offend young Master Yun. After all, his uncle was a saint. The Yun family was a top family clan. Damned brat. Just you wait. This matter definitely won't end like this. I'm going to tear you to shreds. Yunhe's face was cold, and he was trembling with anger. However, he did not attack again. Let's go. The two of them tore through the void and escaped in an instant. In the sunset pavilion, the melodious sound of a zither could be heard. Everyone was intoxicated by the sound. Even Lin Xian was very surprised. Indeed, he found that the sound of the zither was helpful for him to comprehend heaven and earth. Needless to say, the person playing the zither should also be a half-saint. Moreover, it should be an extremely terrifying one. In addition, the sound of the zither and the zither itself should be a rare treasure in the world. That was why it could prevent others from comprehending the way of heaven and earth. After the sound of the zither, everyone was still comprehending. In front, the woman from the Sky Cheen Palace had left. Where did the fairy go? After a while, someone opened his eyes in surprise. No one knew where she had gone. Lin Xian opened his eyes as well. There was a mysterious light in his eyes. He was shocked and happy at first, but then he shook his head with a bitter smile. The sound of the zither could indeed help him comprehend heaven and earth. However, there was also a troublesome matter. This was because his fragment of the law of fire had reached an extremely terrifying level. It was about to become a true law. Previously, it had almost attracted a heavenly tribulation. In other words, Lin Xian was about to break through. Previously, if not for the Crimson Dragon using the great dragon sword soul to set up a formation and forcefully suppress it, he would have broken through long ago. Now that he heard it, his fragment of the law of fire became uneasy again. It scared Lin Xian so much that he quickly cut off the connection and turned to comprehend other laws. The fairy had left. What a pity! After listening for a short while, I felt that I had a new understanding of heaven and earth laws. If I could listen to it for a long time, my cultivation and comprehension would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Yes, it was no wonder that the prodigies of the Sky Cheen Palace were so respected. There was a certain logic to it. A few other prodigies looked envious. They really wanted to marry a prodigy of the Sky Cheen Palace as their wife. That way, they would be able to listen to such music every day. Stop dreaming. Even if someone from the Sky Cheen Palace wanted to marry someone, it would be a peerless powerhouse. We probably have no hope. Many people shook their heads and sighed. Let's go. The Vermilion Bird List competition will begin in a few days. Also, I seem to have comprehended something just now. Yes, I have to go back and cultivate in seclusion for a few days. Who knows, I might be able to increase my cultivation temporarily. These people all stood up. Lin Xian and Lin Xian stood up. The two of them also walked out. Chapter 3292. The two of them had gained a lot of enlightenment this time, especially the Crimson Dragon, who was extremely excited. He let go of his mind and began to comprehend. However, at the same time, the void outside began to tremble violently as if it was boiling. A terrifying pressure pressed down from the sky. Initially, the people around the Sunset Pavilion were trembling, and many of them were kneeling on the ground. Damn it, what's happening? They raised their heads. The sky was filled with countless experts descending from the sky, strong cultivators and many strong cultivators, as well as demonic beasts. They saw the powerful figures descending from the sky while riding on beasts. Some of them were standing on chariots while others were descending from the sky. Every one of them was very powerful. They were cold and murderous. Obviously, they were all experienced fighters. The leader was a tall young man with a cold expression. What? It's him? Yunhe? He's the one who was beaten up. Many people were shocked. At the same time, they knew that Yunhe was here for revenge. Moreover, he was here with a group of powerful figures. This group of people arrived in a grandiose manner, blocking the Sunset Pavilion. At the same time, the elites who came out of the Sunset Pavilion were also stunned. Then they glanced behind them and revealed a look of anticipation. It seems that a good show is about to begin. They quickly moved to the side and crossed their arms. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon frowned. In particular, Lin Xian had a cold look in his eyes. He raised his head and looked at the sky. It seems that letting you go just now was a wrong choice. Indeed, you made a wrong choice. Unfortunately, you let me go. This time, I won't let you go. I'll make you wish you were dead. Yunhee sneered with a ferocious look on his face. So, what if the other party is strong? I've brought a large number of powerful figures with me. Can't I defeat the two of them? Men, take this kid down. I'll tear him into pieces. Yunhee put his hands behind his back, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Buzz. At this moment, a figure made a move. It was an old man. Like a ghost, his speed was very fast. In an instant, he tore through the void and arrived in front of Lin Xian. A large hand was clasping Lin Xian's head. That hand contained an extremely terrifying law fragment. The law of Earth was incomparably heavy. It flickered in the old man's palm like a giant mountain that could crush everything. In an instant, it enveloped Lin Xian. Around them, the onlookers retreated frantically. At the same time, they exclaimed, "It's over. That brat is dead for sure." Of all people to offend, he had to offend young Master Yun. Even 100 lives would not be enough to save him. Lin Xian's eyes erupted with a cold light. He lifted his golden hand and released the laws of metal. With a palm strike, the thick earth formed by the law of Earth was directly pierced through. That wasn't all. The slap landed on the old man's face and sent him flying. Pa! The crisp sound of a slap rang out. The half-step Saint Elder spun in the air for more than 300 times before flying backward. Half of his face was smashed into a bloody mess. "Damn it! I'm going to kill you!" The half-step saint roared. With a frenzied roar, the law of Earth moved quickly and rolled. The shadow of a huge mountain circled around him. Thousands of mountains descended, countless shadows of mountains, each of which was incomparably heavy, fell down frantically. He wanted to kill Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian dodged calmly. He raised his golden hand and slapped forward again. Another crisp sound of a slap rang out. This time, the half-step saint's head was completely smashed into pieces. At the same time, Lin Xian's eyes flashed with a cold light. He quickly charged towards Yunhee. Yunhee was scared out of his wits when he saw that. He quickly retreated and shouted at the same time, "Stop him! Kill him! Kill him for me!" Hearing Yunhee's order, the surrounding people all moved out. De was the first to move. His fists were like dragons that directly exploded a part of the world. Not only that, but 2 more figures appeared beside him. An heir and Absan were his 2 brothers. They were also half-saints. The 3 of them working together was really terrifying. The 3 brothers had very strange means. When the 3 of them worked together, it was as if they had 3 heads and 6 arms. Lin Xian faced the 3 of them. He crossed his arms, and the law of Earth quickly operated in his hands. Then he used the great dragon sword soul to form a huge cauldron. It stood tall like a divine cauldron and threw it forward. Boom! The law that Lin Xian had comprehended was very powerful. The law of Earth was much stronger than the previous half-step saints. In addition, the divine ability of the great dragon sword soul was really terrifying to the extreme. Therefore, when the divine cauldron was thrown out, the world instantly shattered. The surrounding people were all blown away. Not good. The 3 brothers' expressions changed drastically. Countless cracks appeared on their bodies in an instant. Retreat quickly. The power was too terrifying. The 3 of them wanted to escape, but the divine cauldron covered a large area. Although it was heavy, the speed of its descent was very fast. In an instant, the 3 of them were enveloped. The 3 of them gritted their teeth and raised their hands to the sky, trying to block the descent of the divine cauldron. However, Lin Xian waved his hand, and the divine cauldron instantly accelerated again. With a boom, the 3 of them were blasted into a bloody mist. The 3 of them screamed. They were half-step saints. They couldn't die immediately, but they couldn't break free either. They were firmly suppressed by the divine cauldron. Lin Xian turned his head and stared at Yun He. Yun He walked forward again. Damn it, what are you all standing there for? Let's go! Yun He screamed crazily. He realized that Lin Xian's gaze was too terrifying. It was as if it was going to pierce through him. At the same time, he was even more shocked. The three half-step saints were easily suppressed by the other party. Who is this person? However, the surrounding people were a little hesitant. To be honest, Lin Xian's previous means were too terrifying. He had directly suppressed them. This showed that the other party was definitely a powerhouse. He was also a top existence among the half-step saints. Perhaps the other party was one of the favorites this time. However, they also knew Yun He's identity. This was especially true for his uncle, who was a saint. A living saint, he was more terrifying than any genius. Therefore, at this moment, when they heard Yun He's order, they could only sigh and attack. The six of them joined forces. 6 half-step saints. This shocking scene was extremely shocking. Perhaps even a peerless genius wouldn't be able to stop them. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He really didn't take the 6 half-step saints seriously. One had to know that he was only one step away from becoming a saint. His true strength was definitely not inferior to a saint's. He was confident that he could kill even a saint today, not to mention these 6 half-step saints. However, at this moment, the Crimson Dragon flew up. Let's attack together, in order to prevent you from using all your strength. Okay. Lin Xian nodded and didn't refuse. Oh no. Hurry up and attack. Seeing another person rushing up, the 6 half-step saints' expressions changed, and they quickly moved. They first joined forces to kill this kid. The 6 half-step saints stared at Lin Xian. Chapter 3293. Monstrous murderous intent surrounded Lin Xian like an ocean. They knew that they had to get rid of the enemy in front of them first, otherwise they would be in great danger if they were ambushed at any time. The power of the 6 half-saints made everyone tremble and their scalps go numb. However, Lin Xian was not afraid at all. What's more, they were merely 6 half-saints. A cold light appeared in his eyes, and the law of water surged out, turning into a supreme wave that rushed forward. Did he scatter the 6 half-saints in an instant? Oh no, what a terrifying law of water. They were surprised. They did not expect the other party to be so terrifying that their formation was scattered in an instant. At this moment, the Crimson Dragon rushed up and opened its mouth to spit out thunderbolts that instantly enveloped the 3 of them. The other 3 were once again targeted by Lin Xian. Lin Xian used the law of water this time. Endless blue fragments gathered together and condensed into a figure in the endless waves. The figure was very hazy, but the aura was extremely terrifying. As soon as it appeared, it was like a god that suppressed the surroundings. The 3 half-saints trembled and could not move at all. Buzz. At this moment, a bell appeared between the eyebrows of one of them. It shook quickly, and the sound of the bell woke them up. In the next moment, they bit the tip of their tongues to maintain their consciousness and roared crazily. Attack. Don't be surrounded by him. The 3 of them attacked, and terrifying supernatural powers rushed over. However, in front of the sea, they were completely swallowed up. The sea seemed to be endless and swallowed everything. There was no energy transmitted to Lin Xian at all. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He stretched out his hands and clenched them hard. The binding of the sea, suddenly, the sea in front of him surged, and an invisible pressure crushed the bodies of the 2 half-saints, turning them into a bloody mist. 3 screams sounded. And then they were extremely miserable and restored to their original state. However, they were trapped by the monstrous sea water. Who else is there? Call them out. Lin Xian said coldly. Yunhe's scalp went numb. Who else did he have? He had brought 10 half-saints with him this time. The lineup was so powerful that they even dared to challenge the saints. But now, he was being suppressed so easily. A kind of fear rose in his heart. He was now very regretful. Why did he provoke this demon? At the same time, he was extremely shocked. Who was the other party? Why was the other party so powerful? This was already beyond the capabilities of an ordinary half-saint. Even a peak half-saint would not be able to achieve this. Could it be that he was a saint? He thought of a possibility, but he quickly shook his head. That was impossible. The other party had clearly used a law fragment, and not a true law. This meant that the other party was not a true saint. The others were also discussing spiritedly. The scene before them had happened too quickly. Lin Xian was able to suppress more than one half-saint with just a lift of his hand. Now, the other party had injured one of them, suppressed 6 of them, and the other 3 had been suppressed by their companions. This method was heaven-defying. Previously, they had thought that Lin Xian and the others were doomed. But now, it seemed to them that he had kicked an iron plate. If no one comes to help you, then I'll send you to hell. A cold killing intent appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. To be honest, he didn't want to cause trouble on planet Suzaku for the time being. However, he wanted to keep a low profile, but someone just had to come to his door to seek death. He had let the other party live, but the other party had brought 10 half-saints to kill him. If he had been any weaker, he would have been killed and would have suffered a fate worse than death. How could he let the other party go? There was no one around Yunhe anymore. When he saw Lin Xian walk over, he screamed like a madman. His gaze swept the surroundings as his voice rang out. Who will help me? Help me kill him. I'll ask my uncle to accept him as a disciple. Many people were shocked when they heard this. Yunhe's uncle was a saint. If he was accepted as a disciple of a saint, then his comprehension of the heavens and earth would increase by leaps and bounds. To be honest, many people were tempted. However, when they saw the 6 half-saints being suppressed, their hearts turned cold. No one stepped forward. Instead, they took a few steps back. Yunhe's heart sank when he saw this. At the same time, he screamed again, "Don't kill him. Save me. If you can save my life, then you will be my Yun family's benefactor. My Yun family will definitely treat you well. I promise that my Yun family will give you a real saint artifact." What? A real saint artifact? Everyone's pupils shrank. Those experts also sucked in a breath of cold air. To be honest, a saint artifact was an extremely terrifying existence. It far surpassed a half-saint artifact. In fact, not every saint possessed a saint artifact. The reason for that was because the materials needed to craft a saint artifact were simply too precious. They were very difficult to find. It was not easy to refine a saint artifact now. If they could obtain a saint artifact, their strength would increase exponentially, even for half-saints like them. There were also great benefits. Their combat strength would also increase greatly. Therefore, many people were tempted, but no one dared to make a move. However, with such a great reward, someone still stepped forward. "Is what you said true?" At this moment, a voice rang out. Yunhe was ecstatic when he heard this. "It's true. I swear on my life, as long as you save me, my Yun family will definitely give you a saint artifact." "If I violate it, I will be struck by lightning." "All right, I can save your life." A figure walked out of the cave. It was a man dressed in white. He held a folding fan and looked like a middle-aged scholar. He was very polite. As soon as he appeared, he moved as fast as lightning and arrived in front of Yun. In an instant. "I'll save his life." What? Did someone really make a move? Who is this person? How dare he be so arrogant? Did he think that he was more terrifying than 6 half-saints joining forces? Discussions broke out one after another. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Save him? Do you know what the consequences of going against me are? Isn't it just being suppressed? The middle-aged man sneered. However, Lin Xian shook his head. You're wrong. The consequences of going against me is death. When he said that, a cold killing intent burst out from his eyes. The 9 heavens and 10 lands were trembling. Everyone held their breaths. Yunhe was so scared that he almost wet his pants. The middle-aged scholar's pupils constricted, but his face soon darkened. This kid is too arrogant. I know you're very strong and can suppress many half-saints. However, there's a big difference between suppressing a half-saint and killing a half-saint. Moreover, I'm not an ordinary half-saint. Is that so? I'd like to see what ability you have to protect him in front of me. Lin Xian took a step forward. A terrifying aura surged forward. Endless seawater appeared around them, covering the sky and the earth. It completely enveloped the middle-aged scholar and Yunhe. The terrifying waves turned into countless blue sword shadows. They wanted to kill Yunhe. Chapter 3294. Save me. Yunhe tried his best to resist, but he was no match for Lin Xian. Soon, the laws that he cast were pierced. At that moment, the middle-aged scholar came alive. He shouted coldly, closed the folding fan in his hand, and waved his left hand in the air. Suddenly, a chessboard appeared in his hand. It was a chessboard with black and white chess pieces that shone with a demonic light. What's that? Is it a game of chess? Many people discussed, but some of them were shocked and screamed. It's the heaven-crippling chessboard game. That's the heaven-crippling chessboard game. What's the heaven-crippling chessboard games? Many people became even more puzzled. However, the faces of some of the older generation experts turned extremely ugly. The heaven-crippling chessboard game was passed down from ancient times. It was an extremely terrifying formation that was created by a sage. This kind of formation was extremely terrifying and mysterious. According to an ancient legend, 2 very powerful sages were playing chess when they suddenly came up with the idea of using chess pieces to form a formation. The 2 of them used chess pieces as a formation and fought for 800 years, but in the end, they were evenly matched. They left, but the chessboard that they played on became a peerless killing formation. After countless powerhouses studied it, they named the chessboard heaven-crippling chessboard game. Since then, the formation had been passed down. I can't believe there's such a thing. Many people gasped when they heard that. Is that a sage's formation? No wonder that middle-aged scholar dares to stand up for me. Kid, be careful. I've heard of this formation before. It's not simple. I didn't expect to see it with my own eyes. The Crimson Dragon transmitted his voice. Lin Xian nodded. It's fine. If a real sage uses the heaven-crippling chessboard game, it'll be troublesome. It might be troublesome, but what about the other party? I don't care. Well, I'll see how terrifying the legendary heaven-crippling chessboard game is. Lin Xian stretched out his palm and formed 5 mountains. Each of his 5 fingers was extremely heavy, crushing everything in front of him. The middle-aged scholar snorted coldly, and the chessboard in his hand kept expanding, shrouding the world. In the next moment, Lin Xian and Yunhe were all shrouded. Among them, Yunhe was surrounded by 4 chess pieces. They transformed into terrifying black and white qi, forming a powerful defense that enveloped him. The middle-aged scholar floated in the void, controlling the entire chessboard. Lin Xian, on the other hand, came to the chessboard. There were black and white flags around him, flickering with terrifying light. The aura circulating on it was extremely dreadful. A semi-sage expert might die here if they weren't careful. Wang, a black ghost stone charged at him. It was like a black sun, trying to crush him, completely. Lin Xian coldly snorted. He clenched his hand into a fist which was covered in flames. He punched out, and it was like a golden crow. It burned fiercely and shattered the black go piece. The black chess piece was shattered into pieces. However, they soon fused into the formation. At this moment, 2 more white ghost stones shot over. They circled around each other like a pair of dragon scissors, wanting to cut Lin Xian in half. Get lost! Lin Xian swept out with his right leg like a coiling dragon. He flew out with terrifying law of earth. With one kick, he shattered the 2 white ghost stones. The 2 white ghost stones turned into white mist and disappeared again. However, Lin Xian felt that the power of the formation did not weaken. It seemed that his attack was ineffective. You have some strength. However, you don't understand the genius chess game at all. Now, I'll show you how terrifying the heaven-crippling chess game is. Floating in the air, the middle-aged scholar sneered. He waved his hand, and a piercing light burst out from his eyes. Immediately, 13 black and white ghost stones spun rapidly around Lin Xian. They turned into a huge dragon and enveloped the area. The 13 black and white ghost stones surged continuously, forming a peerless killing intent. How terrifying! Outside the formation, the expressions of those people changed. They retreated madly. The Crimson Dragon also frowned. What a strange formation! He circled the formation and kept moving around, looking for the formation's flaws. When he was in danger, he could immediately make a move to break the formation. The heaven-crippling chess game? Not bad. Unfortunately, you're too weak. A cold voice sounded from within the array. In the next moment, a piercing sword light flashed in the air. The 9 heavens and 10 earths were trembling. Wherever this sword passed, everything was destroyed. This was the power of the law of annihilation. After the sword slashed, a huge black hole appeared in the heaven-crippling chess game. What? How is this possible? The middle-aged scholar was stunned. He did not expect his opponent to break his heaven-crippling chess game with such force. This was simply unbelievable. The surrounding people were even more stunned. Damn it! I don't believe it! The middle-aged scholar roared through gritted teeth. A trace of madness appeared in his eyes. The world turned into nothingness. With a wave of his finger, the heaven-crippling chess game erupted again. This time, it was not just 13 lights. Instead, there were hundreds and thousands of lights. The black and white ghost stones in the entire heaven-crippling chess game shook violently. A terrifying and destructive force erupted, wanting to destroy everything. The surrounding martial artists' faces changed. Damn it! This man is crazy. He wants to destroy everything. Run quickly. They ran away in a frenzy. Oh no! The Crimson Dragon's face changed. Lin Xian's eyes also darkened. He was also an expert in formations. Naturally, he knew what his opponent was trying to do. His opponent wanted to use the formation to destroy everything, including Yuan He. The middle-aged scholar was probably the only one who would survive. Is he trying to kill me? If that's the case, don't blame me. He probed, and a piercing light burst out. He activated his heavenly secret divine eyes. At the same time, a piercing sword light circled around his hand. The law of fire surged out. The flaming sword chi broke through everything. Lin Xian's speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he destroyed the surrounding aura. At the same time, he slashed the middle-aged scholar's body. Ah, the middle-aged scholar screamed like a madman. His opponent's strength had increased again. Damn it, did he not use his full strength earlier? His opponent's casual attack had broken his heaven-crippling chess game. Thinking of this, the middle-aged man screamed and turned to run. Do you think you can run away? Lin Xian's eyes were cold and merciless. His opponent wanted to kill him with such a powerful move. How could he show mercy? He clasped his hand and grabbed the middle-aged man's head. He activated his eye technique and immediately searched his opponent's soul. Soon, the soul search was completed. Lin Xian waved his hand and destroyed the middle-aged man's soul. After taking the middle-aged man's storage ring, Lin Xian turned to stare at Yunhe. At this moment, the heaven-crippling chess game was shaking violently. However, before it could explode, it disappeared. Buzz, clang, a chessboard fell from the sky with a clang. The Crimson Dragon grabbed it and put it away. Everyone's attention was attracted by the heaven-crippling chess game. It was a treasure. However, it seemed that Yunhe had taken it away. However, at this moment, they turned their attention back to Yunhe. That was because Yunhe let out a miserable cry. When they turned around, they saw that Yunhe's body had been pierced by 10,000 arrows. 10,000 piercing and dazzling sword chi were flickering. Chapter 3295. Blood flowed wildly, and Yunhe's miserable voice made one's scalp tingle. You dare to kill me? I'm from the Yun family. If you kill me, my brother and uncle won't let you go. He screamed like a madman. Really? Lin Xian sneered and waved his hand. The 10,000 rays of sword chi became even more frenzied. Stop. Please spare me. I was wrong. I apologize to you. I'll kowtow and admit my mistake as long as you let me go. Yunhe was rolling in the sky. The pain made him hover between life and death. Oh, kowtow and admit his mistake? Sure. Lin Xian waved his hand. Go ahead. However, even if you kowtow and admit your mistake, I'll still send you to hell. The last time he let him go, he left and brought 10 half-saints to kill him. Therefore, this time, Lin Xian would definitely not let him go. Yunhe was extremely regretful. Why did he provoke him? He was a person who was not afraid of the Yun family at all. He realized that he was going to die today. Thinking of this, Yunhe's face became extremely desperate. However, at this moment, a cold voice resounded between heaven and earth. How dare you attack a member of the Yun family? How dare you? This voice turned into swords of sound waves and swept toward Lin Xian. The void was pierced, and the entire space was trembling. Lin Xian's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. A terrifying scene appeared in front of him. Countless translucent sword chi seemed to cut heaven and earth in half, isolating everyone. Oh, God. Someone attacked again. The surrounding martial artists were extremely shocked. Previously, Lin Xian killed the middle-aged scholar and broke the heavenly chessboard game, which made them extremely terrified. Later, Lin Xian attacked and wanted to kill Yun, which made them pee their pants. These people had not recovered from the shock, and they did not expect that someone else would come. Moreover, the person who came this time seemed to be even more terrifying. So terrifying. Could this sword chi be Guiyun Jian? What? Guiyun Jian? Are you talking about Yun Tianchao? Many people were extremely shocked. Looking at this sword chi, it should be right. Moreover, according to the other party's words, the other party was also a member of the Yun family. The only person in the Yun family who possessed such a biting cold sword energy was definitely Yun Tianchao. Thinking of this, everyone was shocked. Now that Yun Tianchao had come, perhaps the situation was about to change. Sure enough, Yunhe was screaming like a madman. Brother, is that you? Brother, save me. Kill him. I must kill him. Tear him to shreds. Avenge me. Humph. A cold voice sounded. In the next moment, a person descended from the sky. He was wearing white clouds and his black hair fluttered in the wind. As soon as he landed, he gave off a piercing aura and looked coldly at Yunhe. How dare you embarrass the Yun family like this? After you go back, you will go into seclusion for 10 years, and you are not allowed to come out. Yes, Yunhee trembled in fear, but at the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief because he knew that he was saved. Now that his brother was here, no one would dare to lay a hand on him. Not even Yen Nantian could do that. The person in front was Guiyun Jian. Yun Tianchao's gaze moved away from Yun He and landed in front of him, staring at Lin Xian. How dare you lay a hand on a member of the Yun family? Now, kneel down and accept your death. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. He's too strong. Is this Guiyun Jian? Lin Xian was also sizing up the other party. This is his brother? He's indeed very strong. As expected of a top genius, but it's still not enough. Seemingly seeing the contempt in Lin Xian's eyes, Yun Tianchao snorted coldly. Ignorant guy, how dare you be arrogant in front of me? Fine, I'll show you what a peerless genius is today. As soon as he finished speaking, Yun Tianchao's body disappeared. In the next moment, he charged over with countless biting cold sword energy. These were all white sword energy that carried the law of clouds. It was abnormally terrifying and incomparably strange. In an instant, it completely entangled Lin Xian. Cloud soared, thousand slaughter. Between heaven and earth, countless dense clouds descended. These clouds were all absolute killing sword energy that completely enveloped Lin Xian. The surrounding people retreated like crazy. At the same time, they cried out in surprise. He's here, Guiyun Jian. Everyone's eyes widened. In their opinion, Lin Xian was strong, but compared to Yun Tianchao, he was probably much weaker. Perhaps he wasn't even Yun Tianchao's opponent. The Crimson Dragon also retreated far away. He narrowed his eyes, and a cold smile hung on the corner of his mouth. Kid, let these people see your true strength. Lin Xian was enveloped by the cloud sword. His eyes flickered, and he also had a cold smile. Competing in sword techniques, he took a deep breath, and the sword energy in his body surged out. A terrifying and berserk flame sword energy surged out from his body and quickly swept out in all directions. It was as if he wanted to sweep through the world. Boom, boom. At this moment, the cloud sword exploded with countless clouds and mist. It flickered with absolute killing intent and collided with Lin Xian's body, producing a shocking sound. This was an absolute killing move. The front completely turned into nothingness. This kid is definitely going to die. Yunhee looked at this scene and sneered malevolently. The others felt their scalps go numb. Yun Tianchao was too strong. He used a peerless divine ability the moment he attacked. They reckoned that he might really be killed in one move. When all the clouds and mist rose into the air and disappeared, everyone opened their eyes wide. Even Yun Tianchao furrowed his brows. This was because he discovered that the figure in front of him wasn't dead. Instead, he was wrapped in a ball of fiery red sword light. How is this possible? He's not dead. Yunhee screamed like a madman. Whoosh! Yun Tianchao attacked again. He seemed to have merged with the clouds, and his figure couldn't be seen at all. They could only feel that the power of the cloud sword was even more terrifying. Yet another boundless cloud of swords came, intending to pierce through Lin Xian. At this moment, Lin Xian made his move. His eyes exploded with resplendent light, and an extremely terrifying flame sword energy surged out from his body. Boom! The fiery red sword brought along a violent and destructive aura as it ruthlessly slashed on the cloud sword. It was useless. Yun Tianchao sneered. My cloud is ethereal and formless. You can't destroy it. It was indeed so. The law he comprehended was the cloud. So what if he slashed it apart? At most, it would turn from one cloud into two. However, it wouldn't disappear. Soon he screamed. How is this possible? He discovered that his cloud sword had actually been destroyed. This made him frightened, shocked, and in disbelief. How was this possible? The other party was actually able to destroy his Jian Qi. This was something that had never happened before. At this moment, Lin Xian had already arrived in front of him. The two of them were less than half a meter apart. The laws on their bodies kept colliding, tearing out countless large cracks. At this moment, Lin Xian's voice sounded. "You actually dare to compete with me in sword techniques?" The flame sword in his hand erupted again. It was as if it had turned into a monstrous qilin. It roared towards the sky, crushing all the clouds and mist in the sky. Boom. Fire sword, qilin. This wasn't a law theurgy. It was just a theurgy evolved from the great dragon sword soul. However, its power was still very terrifying. Even a top-notch half-saint couldn't block it. Sure enough, Yun Tianchao's pupils constricted. He waved his hands, forming a white cloud armor. At the same time, the white cloud in front of him drooped down like a curtain. Boom! With a shocking blow, Yun Tianchao was sent flying. The white cloud in front of him shattered, and the armor on his body was also torn into pieces. A ball of flames burned him. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.